just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. And are we excited? Oh my God, we're excited. Only 2 days until Origin. Now, you can watch State of Origin exclusively on 9Now. That's right. You don't even need a TV. You can go 9now.com.au on your browser, or they've got an app on your phone, your iPad, whatever it is. You can watch Origin exclusive and free on 9. Anytime, anywhere, and Origin is literally 2 days away, guys. So make sure if you aren't, I mean, obviously we're all going to be watching it, but if you thought you couldn't watch it because you didn't have a TV or whatever, you can watch it on your internet browser or on your phone or on your tablet. That is 9Now. The best commentators, which are made up of so many former State of Origin legends. Also, this episode brought to you by Bloke Beer. Get into your local. We're in every Liquor Legends in Queensland. We're in every celebrations in New South Wales and Queensland and ACT. Bottle-O in every single New South Wales Bottle-O. Make sure to get into your local, grab a case of beer, because other beers can pretend to love rugby league as much as us, but I would argue quite strongly, no beer loves rugby league the way Bloke Beer loves rugby league. I've got the big fella beside me. He's looking a bit downcast. He's looking a bit sad. Guru, how you going, brother?
Mate, I was doing really well this morning. Then we got the breaking news about Latrell, and I think Matty put it best. He said he felt sick, and I feel very similar. I'm shattered.
And we've got Timmy the Tin Man. I don't know where that came from, but that's your new nickname, Russ. Timmy the Tin Man. How you going, brother?
I've had heaps worse nicknames, to be fair, so I'll cop that. Mate, I came in this morning so full of energy. I was well behaved on the weekend, fresh of mind. The Raids had a big win. The Ipswich Jets put a cricket score on the Maroons at training. So I'm like, everything was merry. And then the Trell news came through, and I'm flat. I won't lie, mate. This is going to be a slog the next few hours because I'm gutted.
Yeah, it is seriously big news. It's also funny when you put the post up on social media. You know, usually when you put a Trell post up, you know, you'll get people that just don't like him as a player. Overwhelmingly, it's just blokes going, no. And it just shows you that, like, when he's on your side, you want a guy like Latrell on your side.
I did like all this Origin prep for today's show around strategy, game plans, and I didn't realise how much of it was centred around how much this game was going to play out around Latrell Mitchell until he popped out. I'm like, let's just ripped all this, just my planning apart.
Crazy. I mean, imagine what Freddie Fittler is, because it would be genuinely a game plan around Tom Trbojevic and Latrell Mitchell.
Yeah.
And maybe leaning more towards Trell because Tommy is still, yes, he had that incredible game and he probably is going to go out and absolutely kill it. But there is still a lot of questions in regards to Tommy and
the reality is how we've seen him use Turbo. He floats around to that edge. So like a lot of it would have been centred. I mean, without going into too much detail, me and Matty were at training the other day, and like we actually watched them do this set play they've got ready. I don't think they'll do it without Latrell. Do you, Matty?
So it's Latrell ball playing, obviously. Cam Smith, if you're watching.
A little bit of something.
Cam Smith, if you're watching, there is a...
Maybe it's not, you never know.
Cam Smith, I've got info. I'll see you in a few days.
You love when you trick the whole of Queensland.
Yeah, actually, the show with Cam Smith, 12 till 3. I'll be flying over to Adelaide. We'll be doing it from Adelaide. That is right. You will be able to listen to myself and Cam Smith on SEN League just hours. So the assistant coach and the GOAT, well, he's the same person. I'm not the GOAT. And, you know, he is an assistant coach and a GOAT, because that sounded like I was calling myself a GOAT. No. You'll be able to hear us talk footy hours before Origin kickoff.
When did Marky Nichols get into commentary, mate?
So that's 12 till 3 on SEN League. Make sure to listen, guys. As I said, the assistant coach getting them 3 hours before an Origin game, that's unprecedented. That is unprecedented. But it's going to be... I wonder what the feeling is going in now, because he's winning as favourites without Latrell, without Tom Trbojevic last year. I wonder whether New South Wales have almost not learnt their lesson, because, like, you know, not the whole state, but I feel like you are more appreciative of what they deliver in Origin after last year.
Well, like I came in here today, and I'm sure we all had the same plan, just sort of talk about, hey, we have Turbo and Latrell. We've seen New South Wales without them. We've seen New South Wales with them. they're absolute juggernauts. It changes everything. And I feel like they hadn't got as much hype as what they probably should have.
I 100% believe they haven't got anywhere near the hype they should have.
And even myself, and I'm sure me and Matty both did the same thing. We arrived to look at the training the other day, and I just saw Turbo and went, oh, fuck, I remember he is like no one else. Like, he's a foot taller than everyone else on that field. And then you chuck Latrell in there, who I think Latrell's football ability will miss, but the energy he brings is second to none.
And that, I mean, he's a guy, Latrell's a guy that, I know they weren't as dominant Queensland when he came through, but he, as a teenager, was one of the first to be taking a step towards Queensland going, I don't give a fuck who I'm marking.
Well, that was it the series you came up against Will Chambers? And I got all the respect in the world for Will Chambers, but Latrell bullied him. He showed him no respect in that, which is what we didn't do for so long.
Yeah, it was almost too much respect for quite a while. Whereas Trell come on the scene, and Chambers for me was probably the best centre of that generation. And granted, Chambers is a little bit older, but it was a young bull going, I don't care who you are, what your history is, I'm taking this game by the scruff of the neck.
It was a 22-year-old stepping over the top of a 30-year-old who had won comps, who had been in the Origin arena, been a champion for a long time. And we're going to miss that so much.
And you just felt like he sounds silly because he came in and he dominated the 2021 series and arguably could have been player of the series. You just felt this year he seems in such good headspace. His footy is at such an elite level. He'd strung a lot of games together without injury, and just this is the series that we could just see him be untouchable at the highest level of our game. Now, hopefully this calf injury isn't anything too serious when we see him for game 2 and 3, but you just felt something really special brewing with Trell, I think, leading into this series. So it's gut-wrenching.
It's just, you're right in regards to, I don't think we'd ever seen Trell in a more complete place heading into an Origin. 2021 was almost, it was anger, it was redemption, it was, how dare you drop me? I am one of the best game players, one of the best outside backs arguably ever. Whereas this year, he was coming in happy, he was coming in essentially a whole, I guess, not a whole season, but the start of the season at fullback. So he'd actually probably got more running in his legs than ever before an Origin series. I agree. I think we were in for something special from Latrell. And also he wants to take the mantle as leader. I know he's still only 25, I think, turning 26, which is absolutely wild, I think.
He wants to be the best in the NRL, and he so firmly believes in himself that he can and will be, if he doesn't think already that he isn't the best in the game. And this was the chance to kind of go, I'm the best player in the NRL.
Yeah, on the biggest stage. And also the reflection of last year compared to this year, almost the internal competition between him and Tom Trbojevic. It is devastating to see him be injured. Absolutely devastating.
And I don't want to talk on your behalf, but I would imagine most Queenslanders would be like, fuck, we wanted the best of the best out there.
Oh,
that's what Origin
100%. That's the only thing he's had on us in regards to every time we say 2020, 2022, you go, yeah, Latrell and Tom weren't playing. And that's the only response. And you could say that's a fair response or not a fair response. But if we beat you with Trell and Tom Trbojevic, that is a feat that is... It's almost as big as the 2020 series, because that's a full strength, in any era, Tom Trbojevic and Latrell Mitchell are in sides, in teams, including the Queensland side.
And I think it'd be disrespectful to say they're at the same level. I don't think they are. I think they're probably just a tier below. But when you guys won your 8 in a row and you could just throw the ball to GI and he'd create something out of nothing. We've got two players who aren't at that absolute god tier of GI, but they're not far below.
They're not far off. Not on the small sample size. I think the difference with GI is maybe because he just did it for longer.
10 years.
Yeah. Whereas the small sample size we've got, they kind of are on that level when you look at the highlights from the games. I mean, Tommy Trbojevic, the only player to ever score 2 hat-tricks. He's going to, if he scores, 3 tries this series, he'll equal Greg Inglis, something along those lines. Yeah. The difference with Greg, obviously, GI did it over 10 years.
He also had GI just very few injuries in his career, hey? His durability, all the key players that Queensland side, which was so dominant for so long. But, we know about Tommy's injury history, but Trell's had a lot as well, hasn't he? I feel like GI missed very few games across his career.
And if you don't want to put them in that same tier as GI, which is fair enough, I said to you, who are the guys that are closest to or the most likely to become what GI was? It's those two, without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
If he scores 3 tries, he'll be the number 1 New South Wales top try scorer. Still a bit to go before Inglis.
How many tries is he off Inglis?
So Inglis is on 18 and Tommy's on 9.
Who holds the record for the Blues?
Hayne and O'Connor. And Adokar's on 10.
And like Turbo, what's Turbo? 25, 26? Is he older?
I think he's about 25, 26.
Like that, like you don't even, like Turbo's not even at the peak of his career yet.
I know.
26.
And he's only played 3 series. I think he's only played 3 series. So, like, seriously, GI's in his own lane because of the longevity. But, as you said, if there are 2 players that could strike fear in the heart of the opposition, like GI, it's Tom Trbojevic and Latrell Mitchell. So, it's a massive, massive loss, Latrell Mitchell. Now, Steve Crichton comes in. For Latrell Mitchell. Stoked for Critter. But damn, feel bad for Campbell Graham. I personally think, and we said this last week, I always believe that you should have kept Campbell Graham in camp because he is the next man up. And if someone gets injured across the whole series, anyone in the outside backs, centre, wing, even fullback, because you may move a centre to the fullback or whatever, Campbell Graham would be the next man up. Now, I understand Freddie's thinking, and maybe it is the right call because Critter has had a whole week to train with the boys, but I still think Campbell Graham should have been given the leeway of that first few days. Now, to be fair, he didn't play for the Rabbitohs. Was it a mixture of he genuinely couldn't play or, look, let's just rest him while we can so he's good for next week? I think that Campbell Graham would have been sweet to play. If he was touch and go for last Friday or whatever it was, I'm sure for Origin he would have been ready to go. So I don't know what the right answer is here, but I do feel for Campbell Graham.
Isn't it funny, like we spoke about it last week, how, you know, and you used the exact example, Reid Marnie, and how that played out. And I got messages from people saying, fuck, all you talk about is ifs and ifs. Every single if happened in this exact situation.
Yeah.
That if Campbell was still in there, he probably plays on Wednesday. And, you know, I from what I gather, Campbell Graham's been carrying this injury for quite some time, been able to manage it. I guarantee you if there was an Origin jersey on available, I think Campbell would be there next Wednesday.
Yeah, like the whole what if scene, like we always say, what if this, what if that. As a selector, you have to think what if.
Yep.
Because that's how you plan your squad. Like 18th mans don't just get selected, oh, he's an 18th man, we'll just put him there. He gets selected because, okay, 18th man, what is our most important? You know, we've got this many fullbacks that can cover fullback. Like there's so much more planning than the 18 best guys in the team.
And also, I mean, look at the history of Origin. How many 11th hour guys have been called in to do a job? Like, it's not like this is a strange thing to happen that a guy gets injured in camp. It's state of origin. You can't play at 80%. You arguably can't play at 95%.
Yeah. It's what are your thoughts on the Critter Campbell Graham situation?
Yeah, I mean, let's say that Campbell Graham was good to go for Wednesday night. I'm just gutted for him that he doesn't get this opportunity now. And I think Guru said off air, like it becomes a very interesting scenario if Critter does kill it. Well, how far down the pecking order does Campbell Graham go? So look, I would, being honest, I would feel a lot more confident with Campbell Graham there. And we'll get to the nitty-gritty of it soon. But Stephen Crichton, firstly, as you said, can be for him. So stoked for him to get a call up and get another opportunity. But defensively, I have my queries around him. In attack, he's a gun. He's renowned as a big moment player. I think there's a difference between being a big moment player and a big game player, because you can have a big moment and seal a match with an intercept try or a one-on-one bust or whatever it might be, but across 80 minutes, what can you do? So, look, I'm not saying Critter can't step up, but I would have been more confident going into this game with Campbell Graham. We did touch on last week that Stephen Crichton, his last month defensively has been outstanding, and it's been up in your face, aggressive. So he's on the right foot, but yeah, it's a tough one to stomach.
Super tough because although they may seem similar because they're tall and athletic, they're actually quite different players. And I wonder whether Critter, well, I don't think he will do the same role as what Campbell Graham would have done. You know, I don't think Critter's going to, although Critter will give you tough carries, there's no doubting his toughness. But I think Campbell Graham is probably more primed for those tough carries, whereas Critter, as we've just said, is more of the big moment guy. So it could be a masterstroke. We could be sitting here next week or in a few days, and we'll be doing a review on Thursday, guys. We could be sitting there going, Critter won the match. Yeah, that's a genuine possibility because he's proven time and time again that he has match winners in him. So yeah, I'm stoked for Critter, but I'm also Devo for Campbell Graham.
And and if it was up to me, I would have gone with Campbell Graham. But part of me also, if I'm looking glass half full, I'm going, geez, okay, I'm going to have Jerome Luai, I'm going to have Critter, I'm going to have Brian Toto. Like, it's one of the best left edges we've seen
That club
over the last few years, you know. So, like, would I rather have Latrell? Yes, don't get me wrong. I wonder if maybe they also go, okay, let's chuck Liam Martin on the left edge and just go with that whole combo there.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Where was Hudson Young training on which side?
He was usual club spot. He was on the left there, yeah.
So at the moment, it's Hudson Young, Luai, Critter, Toto.
It's a lot, probably well deserved. Gee, there's a lot of Penrith faces in that team, isn't there?
And look, well deserved because they are so dominant.
Hard to argue.
It is one of those things though that if you guys do lose this series, a lot of questions come, like they'll almost get the brunt of it, that there's this Penrith connection. And I guess you could say rightly so because they make up most of the side. But yeah, Critter going in centre, as I said, like what I'm happy with for Critter is obviously he had his debut off the bench, didn't really get that much opportunity. Then he didn't play the best in his starting debut. In Origin, you very rarely get second chances. And I'm stoked for Critter that he gets his second chance to show what he's about.
And the other thing is, you mentioned there, his 2 cracks in the Origin arena, they haven't been great, but he'll learn so much from them. And that's where the experience comes into it and what that will have done for Stephen Crichton at this level. So, yeah, he made a few errors and there were a few judgment errors defensively, and I think one game might have gone for an intercept and let a try. I can't really remember. But there are a few issues. He'll learn from them. What we've seen in the last 4 to 6 weeks, early on in 2023, there are a few defensive lapses, and he's rectified and been terrific in D the last month.
Yeah.
We know he can attack. We know what he can do there. That's not an issue. So he'll learn and hopefully, takes this opportunity with both hands.
Isn't it wild how it plays out? Like, you got Val Holmes, who's going to be marking whoever that centre is. Val Holmes probably, I would say, coming off the worst defensive effort of his entire career. We don't even talk about it this week because the Blues have just got so much chaos there.
Yeah, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. So, yeah, massive good luck to Critter. Stoked for him. Devo for Campbell Graham. Like, what a bitter pill to swallow. What a bitter pill to swallow. Oh, it's almost, you wonder, like, could have I lied and said it was sweet? And, okay, the scans say that, but don't worry, I can get through the first few sessions of the week. And it does create a real big problem because if Critter goes out and plays really well, which is a high possibility, he's a gun player, where does Campbell Graham fit into this whole situation?
Yeah.
It is a bit. I mean, look where Reed Marnie is at the moment, doing good things at the Bulldogs, but unfortunately, Harry Grant and Ben Hunt have that sewn up. Like, they'd need probably 2 bad series to lose that spot.
If Critter comes out and kills it, essentially with, let's say, Latrell's back for Origin 2, Campbell Graham becomes essentially the 4th choice centre to come in. That's falling a fair way down the pecking order. The one thing he does have in his favours that we spoke on last week, at least he can play wing and centre. So while he might be down in the centre pecking order, he could easily be the next up in line on the wing. So if there's one more injury across that back 4, chance. Even back 5, because you could see a Latrell or Turbo go back to fullback. So there'll still be opportunities.
Wouldn't it be interesting if Jack White was available still?
Oh, I mean, he'd be slotted straight.
I think so too.
Guaranteed spot. But yes, as I said it last week, and I feel, look, Freddie may have made the perfect decision because the person that, let's say we take names out of it, now the person replacing Latrell has been there since day dot and trained at full speed, full contact, full everything since day dot. So it actually could be this could vindicate Freddie actually. If Critter goes out and plays really well, then Freddie actually gets vindicated and almost it's a huge ballsy call to send the best form outside back, say, look, if you can't train the first few days, you should go back to club and then call in Critter. That's a ballsy call. And I think if it does work out, he won't get credit for it, but he should get credit for it if it does work out. But I personally think that, as I said last week, if any outside back goes down, Campbell Graham was next in line, I would have probably kept him around, let him have those first few days off from contact. He still would have been running in that. Like, he still would have done all the fitness. It would have just been contact.
Yeah. And as you said, Campy, credit when due to Freddie, Campbell Graham did miss that game on the weekend. So it was something substantial enough to miss a game that, Origin was only 4 days after that game. So you know, you got
It might be a masterstroke from Freddie. It really might be.
And I think as well, on top of that, like, I believe Campbell Graham has been around the camp a little bit. I think he's gone to a few events and
I've
everything.
seen pictures, people sending to me that he's... And I said this on the last week podcast with Hello Sport. I actually, if that is true that Campbell Graham's been brought in to do other stuff, I actually love that from Freddie and think that's genius.
Well, I think, and I heard it, so do your own research. I know for sure Reece Robson was at the breakfast on Friday morning because he was down here playing for North Queensland.
I like that.
They invited him. I'd be willing to bet that Campbell Graham was probably at that breakfast too.
Yeah, okay. Because I think that if you've kept Campbell around the joint, then it's almost the best of both worlds. You've got the safety of a player that can train from day dot, get in the systems, get in the shapes, do all the contact. Plus, you've got Campbell Graham just around the boys, getting used to it, everything like that. So I think if Critter goes out and plays really well, people need to give Freddie some credit for that huge call, because it was a huge call to send Campbell Graham home. The safer call, or the easy call with less controversy, would have been to keep Campbell Graham there, just say to the public, he's first couple of days he doesn't do contact, but then he's sweet. Because
that's the reality. If they lose, you know what the narrative's going to be. You just picked the Penrith guys. Well,
it's a ballsy call. I can't wait. As we always say on this podcast, we are more than happy to say when we're wrong and also give credit where credit's due. Now let's talk about accountability. Brought to you by our absolute legend mates at Sportsbet. That is right. Sportsbet are the official betting partner of Bloke in a bar. They have a share bet, a new feature called share bet. You can basically copy your mate's bet. Whatever multi he has, you just press one button, boom, copies it. So make sure, if you're going to have a punt, you've got to do it with Sportsbet. Look, I know people listening that punters, they know Sportsbet's got the best app. So make sure to use Sportsbet if you're going to have a punt. If you are going to have a punt, though, you make sure you do it responsibly. You win some, but you lose more. Only punt what you can afford, guys. But let's get into accountability. Dolphins defeat the Dragons 26-12. I went Dolphins. Guru went Dragons. Timmy went Dolphins. Matty went Dolphins. Eels defeat the Cowboys 24-16. We all went the Eels. Broncos defeat the Warriors in a resounding win. Never in doubt. Ever in doubt. I went Broncos. Everyone else went Warriors. Raiders defeat South. We all went Rabbitohs, but Timmy went Raiders.
Oh, yeah.
Knights defeat Manly. We all went Knights. Myself and Tim tie 4. So what's that? 4 from 5.
You literally won this weekend because your teams were playing.
I don't think so.
I need to get myself a team.
I don't think so. That was just a smart decision by me.
I'm actually a bit embarrassed that I only drew this week instead of winning it outright. It's rare. But, there was only 5 games, and you're right, Guru. Kempy went the Broncos purely out of going for the team. I knew the Raiders were going to win.
Oh, my God. Weren't you talking about mercy rules last week or something like that? I'll just pack her up. Bloody next week you get tied with. And yours was a bias pick. Mine was a thoughtful pick. Tupperware, Jensen, Kobe Hetherington, Sailor, Mariner.
The Raiders being outsiders for that game was one of the great disgraces in all-time bookmaking odds.
Oh, my.
They lost half their side, the Bunnies.
Oh, my God.
The Raiders are a game off the top of the table.
I'm going to take that. That's a win for me, that one. Now, that's brought to you by Sportsbet, guys. If you're going to have a punt, do a Sportsbet. Obviously, Origin is coming up. There's some huge news. Trell mid out. Maybe the odds are starting to change. So if you're going to have a punt, head to Sportsbet. Make sure to do it responsibly, though. Only bet what you can afford. Now on to Team of the Week before we get into more Origin chat. Team of the Week at 1, Cody Nikorima. Holy, where did that come from? Albert Hopewadi, Bradman Best, Will Pensini, Greg Marju, Dylan Brown, Adam Reynolds, Josh Papali'i, Jacob Little, Adam Fanua-Blake, Corey Horsburgh, Lemuelu, Joseph Tarpane, Scotty Drinkwater, Wittamoo Greg, Mark Nichols, Jermaine Hopgood. Any thoughts on that team, boys?
I'll tell you what, Cody Nikorima, when Wayne picked him at fullback last week, that was the 1,000th time I've doubted a Wayne decision, and that's the 1,000th time he's been spot on. I thought Cody was... I thought Isako was going to shit into that fullback spot.
Yeah.
Great selection by Wayne.
And apparently they've got a guy in their Hugh Cup side that's been one of the best players in the comp for quite a while now, and he didn't get pulled up.
Wow.
So
leaves him in a very interesting position next week, the Finns, with Milf, who played one of his best games in a long time, in my opinion. Having Milf there, Isaiah Katoa, Nikorima, you obviously have Hammer coming back at fullback, provided he backs up from Origin. tough decision to make who drops out, but bloody good spot
How
to be in for the
bizarre.
Dolphins.
How bizarre that you would say like Milford, Nikorima, 18-year-old rookie. It's like tough to fit them in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Usually there's a very clear like this is this is this.
They're all going well enough that someone has to miss out.
It's just such
Wayne.
the Dolphins are so cool.
As a little segue to yours, I think Corey Horsburgh too. I could be wrong, but I think that's the third position he's been picked in a team of the week this year. I think he's gone front row, lock, and second row.
And what's crazy is I was like, Ricky, why are you moving him from 13? Like, why? I do not understand. He's been doing so well there. And Ricky has this, like, unique way of moving forwards around. Like, he just can't stick to whatever pack he chooses. But on the weekend, you had to say it was a masterstroke. Just Tarpanair, Papali'i, Horsburgh on the edge were outstanding. Outstanding. And that leads me into my next bit. Menulog, hungriest player, is the big fella, Corey Horsburgh. That is right. Free delivery on $15 or more when you put in Horsburgh as the code. So that is HORSBURGH. Horsburgh is the code to use. You get 15 free delivery when you spend $15 or more with Menulog. That is the hungriest player of the week. So make sure, head over to Menulog, sign up today. You can get free delivery when you put in the code Horsburgh when you spend $15 or more. I mean, that is an incredible deal. You're literally taking out the price it costs to go out and get it. You get it, just bring to your door for free. That's outstanding.
Surely the code could have been Big Red. Would have saved a lot of headaches.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. You're absolutely right.
I'd love to see Menulog put together a list of the worst ways to spell it this week.
Yeah, 100%. It would be interesting because even I get it wrong all the time. So that's HORSBURGH, Horsburgh. Hungriest player of the week, the big fella. I'm sure he'd love some Menulog, the big fella. Hey, imagine him after a game at 11 p.m.
I wasn't a fan of the haircut, just quietly. I missed the red straight away.
I'm a big fan because he's still got the red on the chin.
No, I missed it.
He's still got the red goatee. He's repping it. I love the haircut. And he had 2 line breaks, ran for 91 metres, broke 4 tackles, made 45 tackles, and missed 0 against the Rabbitohs. And he also scored a try. That is the big red. Man, he'd be ordering, how much you reckon? He'd be ordering about $60, I reckon, worth of food.
He'd be on the guru diet.
From
He wouldn't
Menulog. The big fella. He would love it. I can see him just bail up in his bed, watching some Lord of the Rings, probably. I reckon Horsburgh would love a bit of Lord of the Rings.
I was at the game on the weekend and like I didn't know he shaved his head, so I'm like, you can't really see it on TV, you don't know who it is. I just thought it was someone new. I'm like, who is this absolute beast who's got no hair? And then it wasn't until he scored, I was like he came up on the big screen, I'm like, oh, no wonder. I'm like, this guy's a beast.
It's the big red. It's Big Red charging down the field. How good's he been? I mean, what an endorsement with Queensland. Anyone gets injured in that forward pack, bring Big Red in.
He was on with Matty Johns the other night too, and no shock, he seemed like an absolute champion, Corey.
Yeah. Now, let's get to Origin preview.
There's a bit of breaking news. It's very minor, but Danny Widler has just tweeted it. Blues on alert as Nathan Cleary has an infected tooth. Likely to play, but Nico Hines told to be ready.
What the hell? Cleary has an infected tooth.
If he misses the game with an infected tooth, I'll probably stop supporting the Blues. I'll lose faith in humanity.
I tell you what, New South Wales taking a bit of a leaf out of the book of the Queen. Jeez Louise. Payne Haas was out for the rest of his life a couple of days ago.
Yeah, me and Guru made that one up.
And then, obviously, toothache. Come on now. No one's missed an Origin with a toothache. Let's be real here. Jesus. That's one of their best. Seriously. At least we go a flu, a cold, something that's not measurable. Jeez Louise. Toothache.
When's the Queensland routine going to start? It's been pretty quiet.
Mate, we're just focused on getting the job done, mate. We don't do none of that shit that you guys do. Very disciplined, humble, respect, appreciation just for playing this beautiful game. That's what we're all about, mate. None of these theatrics.
You're just happy to be there, aren't you?
Yeah, mate. That's what we just love rugby league. You guys are an incredible side. May the best man win. Clean rugby league. That's what we're about.
It's going to be a long 6 weeks.
Now let's get to the Origin preview. Tedesco v Walsh. So we're basically going to go through positions, matchups, look at their stats. Stats aren't everything, guys, so we're not going to, hang everything on the stats. But just give a kind of a broad eye bird's eye view of how they're going this year and then match them up. Tedesco versus Walsh. Tedesco, 10 games, 3 tries, 4 try assists, 50 tackle breaks, 6 line breaks, averaging 170 metres. Walsh, 11 games, 4 tries, 13 try assists, 61 tackle breaks, 8 line breaks, 152 average metres. I guess you could argue that Roosters haven't been going as well this year, but I mean, I guess it's pretty clear, at least statistically, Walsh has probably been the best fullback in the comp this year so far, form-wise.
I know it's not fair to do so, but I mean, if you were to just take out the try assist, though, considering how poor it feels like Tedesco's gone so far this year, pretty close outside of that, isn't it? Like, I wouldn't have expected Teddy to be in the same realm as Walsh as far as tackle breaks, line breaks, all those sort of things. So I can't believe the amount of New South Wales people that are questioning Teddy's selection. It is.
What? Is that actually a thing?
Like, it's a small minority. It's a loud minority, to be fair, but I can't even fathom how you could possibly consider ever leaving Teddy out of a side or even questioning his spot in the side.
That's crazy talk.
If he'd come back from an injury last week, I would still pick Teddy without
100. He has been seriously one of the most consistent Origin players of all time.
Yes.
Of all time. I mean, he's up there with any player in regards to consistency outside of, obviously that Queensland great run, but that was, you're talking about like an anomaly.
Yeah.
Like, tell me a New South Welshman ever that's been as consistent as Teddy has been at Origin.
I mean, like, me and Matty were talking on Friday. We were watching him just addressing the team and just how, like, everyone felt silent as soon as Teddy started to talk. And we're just saying, geez, wasn't that long ago he was a flashy fullback out of the West Tigers who was injury prone? And now he's the Australian captain, the New South Wales captain. Like, his journey has been incredible, Teddy.
Oh, it's been amazing. Like, seriously amazing. Now, what I love about these two as a matchup is, does that surprise you at all, Timmy? The fact that Reece Walsh is
I actually thought the stats would be far more skewed towards Walsh. You look at all those numbers. The try assist is the one that stands out like dog's nuts. 4 try assists for Teddy, Walsh 13. Outside of that, with Teddy playing a game less, they're all pretty similar, and then you add in an extra 18 metres per game for Teddy. So Teddy having seemingly had a terrible year by his standards, and Walsh being, as you said, arguably the form fullback in the NRL, I thought there would have been a bigger difference in the stats.
Especially when you get, like, to me, I feel like Reece Walsh hasn't been out of position in 11 weeks. I feel like Teddy hasn't been in position for 10 weeks. So for it to be as close as it is, I'm surprised.
shows you how good Teddy is.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
Like,
the
people
point.
are calling for his head, and his stats aren't that much worse. Like, obviously, the try assist one is something that stands out quite a bit, but they're not like that much worse than the guy that everyone is just raving over.
Yeah.
Now, what is most interesting about this matchup is they couldn't be more different as players. They couldn't be more different. You'd say Tedesco more about the contact, getting, hit ups, a lot of meters, whereas obviously Walsh, even though he has a lot of tackle breaks, it's usually because of footwork and speed rather than physicality and strength. Where do you think the game is, I guess, going to be won for Tedesco and Walsh?
Well, I think Teddy, just the work he does through the middle, it's just about unmatched in rugby league, and it might not always be reflected in stats and whatnot, but what Teddy brings to a footy side is just an incredible player. Reece Walsh, though, I'm so interested to see how he goes in the Origin arena. I know that when he was at the Warriors, a lot of people went after him, a lot of people bagged him. I think you and me especially have always been so high on Reece Walsh. The thing I've always loved about him is that he could make 10 mistakes. He's not afraid to make the 11th. He just goes after the game. And I think that's the mindset you need in the Origin arena. You even have a look over the last few weeks in the games they've lost. Like, there was, he tried to do a one-on-one strip a couple of weeks ago. They got penalised. But his mindset isn't, get down there, lead the kick chase, make this tackle. It's, fuck it, how can I win this game of football now?
Yeah.
There was a couple of weeks later where, he'd made a tackle that was over the try line. I've never seen anyone else do it. He dragged the player into the in goals to make it look like he was in the process of scoring to try and get the ball out. Penalty, once again, didn't go his way. But I love that mindset that Reece Walsh has. There was a game, I think it was actually against the Broncos last year, Kempy, where the Warriors, really close game. He had about 4 shots of field goal. He missed all of them.
Yeah.
Wasn't hitting them well. But when someone needed to take a 5th shot at field goal, Reece Walsh went, I want it to be me.
Yeah.
I want the ball in my hands.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about him. He's going to make his mistakes. I have no doubt he's going to make mistakes on Wednesday night. But he's never going to stop coming at you. I'm so excited to see how he goes.
Yeah, it's such a interesting situation with Walsh because if there's one arena where one mistake can literally cost you the game, it's Origin Arena. And I wonder what Billy Slater is saying to him to try to balance out that crazy just attack. Because if there's one fullback that can relate to Walsh, it's Billy Slater. Like, that's what he was. Attack. Never just dive on a ball. Always sprint full speed, try to pick it up and break the line. So it is. I will say, if the Queensland forwards can dominate and give like good field position, quick play the balls, I think he's going to cause havoc on your edges.
That's what really worries me. Mate, when we saw Payne Haas go down the other night, I just had flashes to Reece Walsh just getting on the front foot and just cutting us to pieces straight away. If your pack, which I personally think form-wise, your pack's going better than ours is at the moment, like guys you're leaving out like Corey Horsburgh and them, I really do. Jesus. I think it could take Reece Walsh a long way. Timmy? Something.
Yeah. Queensland, who I despise with all my life when it comes to State of Origin time, like all passionate Blues supporters, they've always had this number one spot that ties in three of my favourite players of all time to watch, and it's KP, Reece Walsh, Billy Slater, and I can't not like them. I love them so much at club level. The brand of footy they play, it's a combination. Like, everyone loves a player with speed because they're exciting to watch. For me, it's cool. Like, there's a lot of fast players in their game, whatever. But when it's the combination of having that speed and being able to ball play at an elite level at that pace, that's where I just sit back and go, I love watching that footy. That's as good as it gets for me, and that's what Reece Walsh has. So between him, KP, and Billy Slater over the years, it's hard to get into this arena and like wanting so desperately for Reece Walsh to go well at the top tier of our game and hopefully in future for Australia, but wanting him to go so bad as a Blues supporter.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the question mark, isn't it? What Reece Walsh could single-handedly win you this game, or, you know, looking very glass half empty, he could lose you this game because he's going into an arena that we haven't seen him in. So how's he going to perform? I'm with you, boys. He'll be fine. He's a star, but even every star in their first few games on the big stage, it can take time. You know, it's a big arena. How will he handle the hype? It's exciting. It's very exciting.
But at the same time, he also is the same sort of kid that we could be sitting here. I could be sitting there at 10 p.m. Wednesday night going, fuck, another one that's just made for Origin.
Yeah, those big moments, big plays. You know, like Selwyn Cobbo just comes in and has that, you know, outside of that play, some good runs, handle the physicality of it. But just that one play where he dummies, then drops the ball to his foot, grubbers inside, on debut, like that's a big moment.
There's some guys that get picked for Origin sometimes, and I think, geez, is the stage going to be too big for them? As much as Walsh might make mistakes, I don't think the stage will be too big for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to attack the game again. The glass half empty look is just that error. But I tell you what, if he finds that perfect balance between, you know, attack, Origin is a game where if you've got players that can create space and break tackles or even create moments that don't exist, like that's game changer stuff. That's it's so hard to find in Origin because there is no space for anything.
Yeah.
And Reece is the guy that, at least at club land, we don't know at NRL land, he creates space.
And what excites me and terrifies me as New South Welshman regarding Walsh is we know the style of football that Billy Slater was, and he won't want to put any doubts in Reece Walsh's mind. Like we see him probably at times attack a little bit too much at club level, and it can lead to errors. And you think, oh, maybe he goes and says, mate, still attack, just, you know, maybe rein in a little bit. Billy Slater's not going to say that. Billy Slater's going, mate, go all in. You see an opportunity, you take it. Because that's what Billy would have done. That's what Reece Walsh is going to do, and we'll see how it pays off.
And that's what scares me about Reece Walsh getting selected is that Billy had the option to play it safe and go with KP. Billy had the option to pick a guy that, one, he knows he can get the best out of. Two, he's played Origin football with, and he's decided to go down the Reece Walsh avenue. Billy Slater, who's forgotten more about Origin than I know, must be confident in this kid to do a job.
Man, it's so interesting because then you go, on the flip side, Tedesco is a guy that's going to take hit-ups off the ruck. He's going to be constantly around the ruck, sneaking, sneakily, I guess, He's so good at guarding where he is, so you don't actually know where he's going to pop up. When you're a defensive side looking at the ruck, sometimes fullbacks make it super obvious as to where they are, where they plan to be. Whereas Tedesco is so erratic and his footwork is so good that his first 10 meters, like his top speed is not that impressive, but his first 10 meters or even first 5 meters is electric. And so that's where, when you look at your forward pack, Payne Haas has an offload. Tavita Pangai Jr. definitely has an offload. Paolo definitely has an offload. You start to go, maybe there is a game plan being created around the ruck with Tedesco just off the back of those boys just constantly and then just on front foot footy. And so that's where you see Tedesco. He's still got the silkiness of ball playing. I would argue Walsh is a silkier ball player, but around the ruck in regards to work rate, I say Tedesco's got the win there.
And that will be the game plan, mate. It'll be 2021. Obviously now with Latrell out, it takes away from it a little bit, but it'll be having Tommy as that second roaming fullback and James Tedesco and all these lightning quick plays around. Even Damien Cook back in 2021 where we saw the offload and he'd get and just take off. It'll be looking for that second phase play and Teddy be ready to go when it does.
Where do you see Teddy? I mean, the obvious answers, we've seen it so much. Where do you see Teddy injecting himself and how?
Yeah, I think through the middle. I like when we were watching them train the other day, you just, like Tedesco is just everywhere on every single play. Like wherever the ball is, he is next to it. Like he must be such a fit human being. It's just insane.
Especially with the muscle mass he carries. He's pretty big.
Mate, his torso is huge. Like his core must be off the charts.
It's like similar with Minicello, like they were gymnasts.
Yeah.
And so they just had this crazy pound for pound strength. Tedesco's literally right up there.
I think, the obvious one with Teddy though is that, no matter what big stage it is in rugby league, experience always matters. And no one's got more of it than Teddy.
It's going to be, cannot wait for this matchup. Cannot wait. Teddy versus Walsh, game 1, Adelaide. Now, onto the wingers. Any more to add on the fullbacks there, boys? Onto the wingers. You've got To'o and Addo-Carr versus Cobbo and Tuolangi. So, Cobbo will be on the left against Carr?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go Cobbo versus Carr. Addo-Carr, 7 games, 6 tries, 0 try assists, 23 tackle breaks, 4 line breaks, 85% tackles efficiency, 116 average metres.
Sorry, I think Cobbo will be on the right, actually.
I've got Cobbo right.
Yeah, I think he'll be on the right.
Cobbo right and To'o left.
Okay,
Yep.
So we'll do Addo-Carr versus Tuolangi. So Tuolangi, 10 games, 2 tries, 1 try assist, 16 tackle breaks, 9 line breaks, 72% tackle efficiency, 141 metres. I've got to say, I actually thought Tuolangi has played less games than that. And that's no disrespect to Tuolangi. I actually think he's been quiet this year. Addo-Carr, we all know what he can do at the origin level. How do you see this battle playing out?
Yeah, I think with Murray, first of all, like, I'm the same. I didn't expect him to play 10 games. I think he has been quiet. But I also think, like, when you're not a winger like Brian To'o that's known for running for 220 metres, and he's not that sort of a winger, and that's okay. When your team's going as poorly and they're as dysfunctional as the Cowboys, I don't know, it can be hard to judge. And to be honest with you, I probably haven't watched him as intently as Billy Slater has to know where his form is at exactly, just because the Cowboys have been going so poorly. But we'll get to the centre soon. I still would have picked Dangago. I didn't have Murray Tuolangi in my side.
It's a huge opportunity for him to be one of those typical Queensland selections where a lot of people have said, oh, he's a bit too quiet to be in there, and then he goes to Origin and he absolutely kills it. Because it feels like forever ago, but he was in the World Cup squad. That's how good he was last year. And his finishing ability, we talk about Reece Walsh and they're creating space and there's no space in Origin. Finishing-wise, he's one of the best finishers in the game, if not arguably the best finisher in the game. You go back and watch Tuolangi's highlights, some of his finishes are out of this world. And maybe Billy Slater is going the route of, you're big enough to do the big carries, but also that just someone can almost guarantee a finish if there's a millimetre of space there. And so maybe that's what he's looking at with Tuolangi. Timmy?
Yeah, I've actually got no reservations around Tuolangi being there. I think it's fine. And the reality is that the Cowboys have been terrible for the majority of this year. And when you're on a winger in a side that is struggling to go forward and getting beaten through the middle, there's not much you can do. You can't really have an impact on that game. You don't get put in try-scoring situations, and he hasn't. All right, sure, he could have been a bit better this year, but he's coming off a World Cup win on the wing for the Kangaroos. He'll slot into a Queensland team that will go forward. He'll get his opportunities. It'll be half a sniff, and I think there aren't too many better players that you'd give to finish off there. Statistically speaking, I think the thing that stands out for me most is that despite playing a pretty ordinary Cowboys side this year, he's averaging 141 metres. It's pretty solid.
And 9 line breaks.
And 9 line breaks. So, yeah, not getting the tries, not the best stats, but I think he'll come into a gun Queensland side and he'll be fine, and I don't think there's any query around that for me.
And in his defence as well, I think it's something we've spoken about all year, that we hate the way the Cowboys are using the left edge. Val Holmes constantly being used, running that overs. Like it hasn't made sense to me all year anyway.
Val runs that hard line, and even when they do hit Val, he's just running this rock hard line where he's not really looking to catch and tip on and beat him. He just runs hard.
Yeah.
So Tuolangi said the opportunities haven't been there.
And so Holmes has been moved to the other side though, which is really, really interesting why you
Very
wouldn't
strange,
keep Holmes and Tuolangi together. But we'll get to that. Now on to the Fox. I mean, what else is there to say? Just like Tedesco, he has been super consistent at Origin level. We were shocked when he wasn't in the side last year. And the Fox with a point to prove is a scary winger. One of the best wingers in the history of game, in my opinion.
The energy he was bringing to training the other day. I've never spent any time with Fox, but you always hear about how loud he is and everything he is. He did not shut up in the most positive way possible.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I could not believe the energy he had throughout the entire session. It was like the energy he had about the most minor things that were happening, and you can tell it's infectious.
Yeah.
Other guys were just getting around him so much. It was unreal. He was having banter with them the entire time, and Freddie would say, "Go to this corner," and he'd run there screaming. And it just turns the entire tone of what's going on, And I was looking at them, and the Panthers boys, they enjoy themselves and everything, but they don't bring what Fox has, and we would have missed it so much last year. I think I'd love to talk to the people in the camp and get their impression of, and that's what we see out in the field when there's a crowd there. Imagine what he's like around the hotel room, or all that sort of stuff. I love everything about Fox. I could understand Freddie not picking him last year. I got it wrong 100%. I'm glad he's back in there.
Yeah, it's that you cannot express how important that intangible off-field quality that a guy like Fox brings, like the confidence, the energy heading into a game. I've spoken to, some people from the Origin camp last year. They did feel it was a bit subdued, a bit not as, energetic as the 2021 one, which is, it's easy to say now, look back on hindsight and be like, oh, here's a problem. Like, I think even though I personally would have chosen Fox, any reasonable person could understand why Freddie made the decision to go other players. Even if you disagree with it, you could be like, look, I get it, big body, a lot of meters, all that kind of stuff.
It's much like Fox to the Blues, Guru to this panel. He might have shit takes. He might know a lot about footy. But he's a good bloke. He brings energy to the bar. He brings energy to the show, and
Lightning
it's intangible. And lightning quick.
Yeah, lightning, it's intangible.
It's more than you see on face value.
You are the Fox of the panel.
We wouldn't be what we are, Kempy, without Guru's energy.
No, I'm well aware, don't worry. What I did notice the other day, though, at Blues training was as soon as Payne Haas went down, Matty, did you notice it? Josh Adokar almost took it upon himself to get louder and to be bouncing around more, because you could tell there was a moment like, oh, shit, and we just lost our best front row forward, and he went to another level of skin. It's like he could sense what was happening in the room and knew that he could turn the gear up.
Yeah, it's so important. And we don't need to speak about, look how well he played for Australia.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable for Australia. And again, I feel like it's going to be the theme of the bloody show, but Origin is about these small spaces that don't usually exist. Like, big spacing exists in NRL games because the standard isn't high. Origin is all about the little moments, just the tiny moments adding up to big moments. And Fox takes those little moments and then turns them into big ones. So I can't wait to see
Well, when we sat here last week, the teams had just come out, and I was a little bit... I think I was just disappointed for Campbell Graham that he didn't get picked in the starting side. And I can't remember, but I think I sort of leaned towards saying, I think Campbell Graham probably should have got that wing spot. The more I've looked into it, I'm more than happy Josh Adokar's there. And And I think, we'll get into the game plans and strategy and that more and more, but I just think the Blues are going to try and emulate that 2021. I think they'll try and emulate the Manly Seagulls style attack where they play expansively, they give early ball, early spreads out of their own half, and that's where Fox's speed comes in. As you said, Kempy, give him an inch and he's gone and away and probably scores.
Yeah.
And I think that will be a lot of our game plan, and that's where you have Fox over Campbell Graham. So I'm really happy with the Addo Carr selection now, and I'm stoked that he's there.
To'o versus Cobbo. To'o 11 games, 5 tries, 1 try assist, 38 tackle breaks, 7 line breaks, tackle efficiency 86%, averaging 203 metres. Insane. Cobbo, 12 games, 9 tries, 0 try assists, 53 tackle breaks, 7 line breaks, 87% tackles, and 163 average metres. I mean, those stats from Cobbo are pretty bloody amazing.
They're very impressive, aren't they?
To think that he has 53 tackle breaks compared to 38 of a To'o is pretty incredible. 9 tries compared to 5. I guess the argument, they've got equal line breaks. Obviously, To'o beats him in metres gained. The argument could be, if you checked Cobbo's error rate, it would probably be substantially more than To'o, but can you please check that for me, Matty? But I love the fact that we're going into a game with To'o, best ring in the comp probably right now.
Yep.
And yet, from a Queensland perspective, I think Cobbo's ceiling is probably higher.
Yeah, you said before if you were to do an error count, Brian To'o would win that. But if there was a stat for just
Something
doing
happening.
shit that you can't coach, Cobbo wins. As I said, we're up at Magic Round the other day, and he took an intercept that I'm not sure if anyone else in the comp would have taken that intercept.
Crazy.
It was going into the crowd. He managed to run it down in the air, get it, and then take it the distance.
Crazy.
Yeah, so Cobbo's got the most errors in the NRL with 22 and To'o's on 9.
Yeah. So that is the risk you play. That's the gamble.
And then Walsh is like second or third, isn't he, Matty?
Walsh is equal third, yeah.
So that's the scary bit, is errors can absolutely kill you in Origin, but also you can have these crazy moments, and it's just it's why the Broncos, when they kick into gear, they're the most exciting team ever to watch, because they just go crazy and you're going, this is so unorthodox.
Yeah, and you talk about those moments. I mean, where we were sitting for game 1 last year, watching Selwyn go down the sideline and drop it on his toe, at full pace with the size he is, to put in a little deft kick like that. He couldn't have, if he had another million shots of that, he couldn't have got it more right than what he did in that moment. That's what Origin's about, getting it right in that moment.
Yep. But in regards to game plan, I actually think they'll probably play a similar role. I think Cobbo will be relied on to take a lot of the tough carries for the back three, because he's the big boy in the back three. Well, Tuolangi is big too, but I think Cobbo is probably, they're going to need him.
He's the yardage man.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to be what To'o is to New South Wales.
You're not going to kick to either of these two.
No.
And also that's where having between Tuolangi and Walsh, a bit smaller in the back three, it's where Val will come in as well. He'll run for 200 metres and be so big for yardage.
Yeah, absolutely. Now on to the centres. Crichton and Turbo versus Val and Hamiso. So it'll essentially be Crichton up against Val, we think, because now that may change because Latrell is no longer there. So maybe they go, let's put Hamiso on Critter and let's put Holmes, because my thinking is they moved Holmes to do a job on Trell, to try to do a job on Trell.
I reckon you're right, because I was surprised when you boys said that they were actually on opposite edges, but a big part of that must have been the Trell matchup.
It could be the opposite though, because Hamiso did do a job on Tommy Travojevic in his debut, so maybe that's why he got moved, because Hamiso to mark Tommy.
Do you think Slater's picking his teams based on the New South Wales side though? I'm not sure if he would be.
I think it would have some say.
Yeah.
I think it would have some say, especially with those two players, Trell and Tommy. They're too good to ignore and just go, no, we're just worried about our game.
That Trell, I mean, it's redundant now while he's not playing, but the Trell on Hamiso, I know did a job on Turbo, but that was like the matchup to target for the New South Wales Blues. So I could see why they flipped that around.
But yeah, and I know it's not going to happen now either, but I think at the same time, it would have. I think Queensland would have been excited for that matchup. Getting it, the way that Latrell moves laterally, to have Reece Walsh and to have Hamiso coming down that edge, if you put him in the right spots, That was a spot that I was worried about.
Yeah.
And I thought it had more to do with putting Hamiso on Latrell for his sheer pace to try and beat them that way.
But they ended up there, so they put Holmes on Latrell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if they make that move and they pull Holmes across to Tommy and they put Hamiso on Critter.
Because as much as you're screwing up how you've been training, you're putting guys on there better. Like you're putting Val on his edge.
On his edge, yeah. Yeah. It'll be really interesting to see how they run out. Really interesting. Okay, so as for now, we'll say Critter versus Val. Critter, 11 games, 6 tries, 3 try assists, 35 tackle breaks, 4 line breaks, 89% tackle efficiency, 121 metres. Val, 12 games, 3 tries, 3 try assists, 53 tackle breaks, 6 line breaks, 77% tackle efficiency, 170 average metres. Look, I think that Critter's defence is outstanding at 89% for a centre. But you'd have to say Val in a team that's going that poorly is probably, I guess, he can step up even more when he gets around a good team. So you may see an even bigger jump. I mean, we saw it like when we saw him when he played last year, and then whenever he does play Origin. But this is a matchup that went from, oh my God, Latrell Mitchell to, oh my God, there's a chance. Now, Critter could win the battle, but there's a chance that Val may win the battle.
Isn't it amazing? Like we've got 4 centres there in Origin. If you include Latrell, who was the 5th, none of them are being picked in the position they play at Clubland or on the side they play in Clubland. Like even the centres are getting picked on the opposite side where they usually play.
Yeah, that's weird. That is weird. How do you see this battle playing out, Critter versus Val?
I find Critter so hard to analyse what he's doing. And, you know, as you said, his last 4 weeks have been amazing. Defensively before that, he was in a little bit of trouble. I don't know which to focus too heavily on. Do you think that Freddie's had a conversation with him in the last 4 weeks?
Yeah, for sure.
It seems like a sudden thing that all of a sudden just changed.
His aggression went through the roof.
Yeah, straight away.
Line speed, shooting out, whacking blokes.
He's stopped intercepting. I haven't seen him go for an intercept for a while.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's a matchup I'm looking forward to. I'd be playing Val on the left. I really would. I don't really get swapping them over. Doesn't make a heap of sense to me.
As in, you'd be playing him on Tommy?
Yeah, I'd be playing him at left centre where he plays.
Even though Hamiso did a good job on Tommy when he played in 2021 Game 3?
Yeah, no, there's that argument there. I just wouldn't be moving Val out. Like, instead of playing one guy out of position, you're playing 2 guys out of positions now.
Could he be playing out of position for club? Is there
thought about it from that angle? Yeah, maybe.
And maybe this is actually his preferred side. So he's been moved to the left side, correct?
Yep.
So maybe he's actually a left-hand carry, right-hand fan, maybe.
Maybe.
Or defensively, maybe he's a right shoulder is stronger, and he'd rather defend.
Which edge was Val on when he won the comp for the Sharkies? Was he left or right? Was he right outside?
I think he was
third?
right. I think he was right. And was he a wing? I think he was a wing. Yeah, I think he was right.
Barber was at fullback. Yeah.
Do you remember who the other winger was?
Fecky.
Jared Beale.
Fecky.
Oh, Bill come off the bench.
He did come off the bench that night, Bill. Yeah.
I can't wait for this matchup. Critter versus Val. Wow. Dally M centers versus each other. That's exciting.
I think both teams are going to really fancy their opportunities here. Val is, I think, the best, well, without doubt, the best defensive centre of those 4. But as it stands, he's also on the right edge of DC, Tommy Gilbert and Cobbo, where I think the Blues will fancy themselves. So they'll be going at him. You look at Tommy Turbo, completely playing out of position. Was caught out a few times in the past, playing centre at Origin level. Hamiso's playing out of position. Very few footy, a little bit of footy at centre, but he's still out of position.
Yeah.
Critter, who we spoke about his defence at times. I think both sides will look at opportunities here and be throwing a lot of footy at these guys, getting them to make decisions.
I reckon like New South Wales will probably be a little bit more confident because the form of Critter coming into this defensively has been outstanding, whereas Val Holmes' defence in his last game was like, really, really not great.
Val's D this season actually hasn't been that good by his standards, but you just know getting to Origin, Val will be 100%.
That's sweet. Mate, cannot wait for this battle. Now, the next battle. Turbo, 10 games, 8 tries. I mean, the fact that he has 8 tries, and we've been saying he's had not a terrible season, but a very quiet season for his standard. 8 tries, 7 tries, 37 tackles, 7 line breaks, 73% tackle efficiency, 191 metres. That is him on a one leg.
And, you know, if someone said to you he's been terrible, it's probably not a hill I would die on to say don't call him terrible. You know, by his standards.
By his standards.
Yeah, by his standards.
By normal fullback standards, he's been solid.
These numbers are wild.
To be fair, 3 tries, 4 try assists, 34 tackle breaks, and 6 line breaks against the Raiders last week. So it's skewed a little bit.
But it's still incredible. And that's what some people try to send, well, didn't try, they did send through. So they're like, well, statistically, he's actually doing better than X years. And this is such a perfect example of like stats aren't the be-all and end-all. Because anyone that watched Turbo play can show that he is not at 100%. Obviously, against the Raiders, he was playing at 100%. He was unbelievable. But that's scary to think. If he is clicking into gear now, and that's what he's done with one leg, what is he going to do with 2 legs?
Well, that was like me and Matty were talking the other day, watching him train and the way he was getting around, and we were just saying, if you had no idea what had happened in the last 2 months, you would think it was 2021 Turbo what was standing in front of us.
Yeah, wow. Fuck.
It's the one, yeah. I'm just so glad we've got him.
Seriously, unbelievable. All right, Hamiso. Now, these are fullback stats, so is Tommy, so I guess it's an even comparison. 11 games, 10 tries, 3 try assists, 42 tackle breaks, 5 line breaks, 87% tackle efficiency, 142 metres. Now, obviously, Tommy has proven himself at Origin, and he's a special player, and you'd favour Tommy in this battle. But Hamiso has that magic about him. He does have magic, and he's not a player that I look at and go, there is no way that he comes out of this battle on top. There is a small percentage of me that goes, maybe he does. Like, honestly, I reckon we haven't even seen Hamiso at full pace in the NRL. That's what it feels like. That we literally haven't seen him hit full pace. Now, you could see that as a bad thing or whatever, but what I'm saying is like, I still think there's another gear or 2 in Hamiso. How do you see this battle playing out?
Scares the shit out of me knowing that Hamiso is going to be on Munster's edge. That really, really worries me.
Because they have magic. They just got this weird... You don't know. You don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly right. And I also feel with Hamiso, like, you know, he's been incredible this year, but the reality is the halves he's been playing with, there's been a teenager and a multitude of 3 or 4 other guys. Like, once he gets a genuine ball player like Munster on the big stages like this, we've seen what money can do in the Origin arena. I'm very scared of Hamiso. And here's me 6 months ago saying, I don't even think he's a fullback.
Mate, I was with you. I didn't even know what position he was. And then he comes out and is part of one of the most... It's seriously one of the most incredible stories in rugby league. This Dolphins, we're living in it. And if they make the finals, we'll celebrate it. It won't be until 5 to 6 years' time when we look back and go, that was arguably one of the greatest things we've ever got to witness in rugby league. And he's been the focal point of it.
Start of this season, I did not think there was a hope in hell he'd be playing Origin.
Yeah, wow. To think.
And then 6 weeks ago, I'm arguing with him about why I think he should be in the side.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
It's incredible. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I think with the way Queensland will play, it'll be like quite a high completion, high percentage type of footy, the way they always do, through the middle. Spend a bit of time roaming in around the ruck, just looking for a bit of second phase play. It'd make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Him and Reece Walsh sniffing around the ruck. So, my question to you, Kempy, is a genuine question. I'm not entirely sure. How do you feel about him defensively coming into this game? He's played a bit of centre for the Cowboys and at club level, not a lot. Was terrific in one game there a couple of years ago and did a great job in Tommy, but it was one game. Are you nervous? Are you semi-confident?
I'm definitely nervous about Hamiso and defence. But as I said, there are NRL players and then there's this step above NRL players. And I think Hamiso fits that category. And he may not have proven it over a long period of time yet, but it's like the point I was making in regards to, I didn't even think we've seen him hit top speed. And so when you see a team and they've got a halfback or a 6 and they're just good, solid 6s or 7s, and then a veteran who everyone reckons their career is over, done, comes into that team. We've seen it with Chad Townsend. We've seen it with Adam Reynolds. Now, I'm not saying that they're on the same superstar level, maybe Adam Reynolds as Hamiso, but there is this like levels within levels kind of thing. And I think Hamiso fits on that pedigree of a super, super special player. And super special players step up to the moments. And so I think Hamiso will step up to the moment. But I am nervous in regards to if he is marking Tommy, because even the best centre in the game could have troubles with marking Tom Trbojevic.
It's the other thing that, worries me about him as a New South Wales fan is that, he's had the last 20 weeks getting backed in completely by Wayne Bennett, and then Billy Slater rings him and says, I'm picking you over Dane Gagai. Like, his confidence would just be sky high at the moment. And I agree with you. He doesn't have the resume to back up that he's an Origin player, but I get very early vibes that he is.
He just got that. There's something special about him. He just makes things happen. They just seem to happen around him. He seems to be in the right position. He seems to be faster than everyone. He seems to be able to handle the physicality of it all. Like, for example, if that wasn't a dead rubber and that was to win the series in Game 3, 2021, we'd be talking about it as one of the best debuts ever. If let's say the game was 1-1, Tommy still had the same series that he had, and then he shut down Tommy in that last game, we'd be talking Hamiso-like. But it was because it's a dead rubber, so no one really remembers it. Well,
how are Hamiso's stocks going to go if we're sitting here in 6-8 weeks at the end of the series? And he went from last season being unable to crack an NRL starting 13, and, there were circumstances. Drinker was killing it at fullback. There wasn't a spot for him, whatever. Really good Cowboys team that just weren't losing. And he comes in now, kills it at the Dolphins at fullback. If he comes in, Queensland win the series, and he's done a job on Tommy Trbojevic at centre, his stocks will be like, just as you said,
infinite.
This bloke is unbelievable.
Yeah. I also think that, especially now with Latrell, I'm imagining Hamiso marking Tommy Turbo for 80 minutes, which, technically he will be, but I wonder how much time Turbo's going to spend sitting at right centre, going one-on-one
especially with Trell out.
Especially with Trell out now. I think he'll be roaming a lot more than what we're anticipating.
We'll talk about Turbo. We've already spoken about it a little bit, but yes, I'm nervous about Turbo. I am super nervous about Turbo. This is a guy that has been a lot of negative chat around him this year, a lot of doubting. The last thing you want to do as an opposition fan is doubt a superstar like Tom Trbojevic, because that gives them fire. They've already experienced everything, maybe outside of a premiership win. He's already done everything at Origin. He's played for his country. Sometimes if you give them a reason to be great, they go and do just that. And Turbo has every reason to go out and be great, and that fucking scares me.
The highlight of my week so far has been watching Turbo through social media, hanging out with the guys, playing the music and dancing and singing. Turbo's just like, I just want to play footy. I just want to rip and tear on Wednesday night. I don't want anything in between. I find it so entertaining to watch him just navigate his way through this squad. That's a lot of high energy guys that we need it. But he's just there for business, isn't he, Turbo?
Oh, mate. If he didn't have a fire in his belly 2 years ago, imagine the fire in his belly now. All the doubters, everyone's saying he's done. And we also doubt, I'll speak for me, I won't speak for you boys, but I doubted whether he should be selected. Now, I always just wanted one good game out of him, but I doubted whether he should get more time to get his body right or whatever. So even people that are number one fans of Tom Trbojevic and think he is incredible on the field and off the field had doubts. He's heading into this Origin with the biggest chip on his shoulder and the most talent. It is the worst mixture that you can have as an opposition.
I wouldn't have picked him 3 weeks ago. Happy to admit it. And I look back now and go, what on earth were you talking about? And
you're basing it on fitness levels, and it wasn't there on what we saw.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of chat around Turbo. Is he carrying an injury? What's going on? And there's been a little bit of chat that he has just changed the way that he's been running and whatnot. And watching him train the other day, and watching him against Canberra, I wonder if he's just gone, fuck it, I'm just going all in again. I wonder if he's been injured or if he's been holding himself back.
I reckon he's been holding himself back.
Yeah.
And then I reckon that he's had a conversation with whoever and said, I just can't play like this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I'm just not happy. It's not fun. I don't enjoy it. If it's going to go, it's going to go. So just give me the chance to go out on my own terms rather than this weird middle ground where everyone's talking about my injuries and whether I'm 80% or 100%. How do you see Tommy impact the game, Timmy?
Yeah, well, for anyone who listens to me on this podcast and gets sick of me talking about roaming centres, it all stems back to Tommy Trbojevic, 2021 Origin, playing centre, and the way he just jumps around the park. And it just makes me so happy. And I thought that had reinvented the wheel in the way that I thought probably coaches would have taken it upon them more to get centres doing this. And it's happened in bits and pieces in the NRL, and we see it from time to time. And I think when we do, it's very effective. But Tommy Turbo at centre, the way he plays that role that I've never seen anyone else play it in my life, it's something to behold. And it's been a few years since we have seen it. I can't wait. It's like, you don't just stick on the edge, mate. You're essentially a second fullback playing centre. You pop up wherever you want, whenever you want, and it must be terrifying for you because Jesus excites me.
I can just see him. Couple of tired forwards, couple of lazy efforts, and boom, he's straight through. And then you're just like, fuck, there goes the game. The game, 2 tries in the space of 10 minutes or something like that, and you're going, oh my God.
Well, they're him and Teddy, like we saw last in 2021. Them two roam around the right. There's half a sniff, someone goes through, Teddy gets the line break, Turbo's backing up. And
and you're just going far out. Like, it's just almost impossible to stop. I mean, 2021, Teddy took the first hit up, Tom took the second one, and I think Teddy took the third. And I think Tom Trbojevic bumped Tino Fa'asuamaleaui. And so you're like, how is that even fair? How is that fair? A dude that big and fast can bump our biggest player. It's just, anyway, it's scary, scary stuff. Now onto the 5'8s. Luai, 11 games, 1 try, 4 line breaks, 1 forced dropout, 6 try assists, 8 line break assists, 92% tackle efficiency, 94 average metres. Munster, 9 games, 6 tries, 8 line breaks, 3 forced dropouts, 5 try assists, 2 line break assists, 84% tackle, 133 average metres. I will say none of those stats really surprised me that much, except for the 92% tackle efficiency. That is actually really, really impressive and probably a part of Luai's game that clearly doesn't get enough appreciation.
Completely agree. Yeah, I think defensively he's a very good 5'8". Isn't it funny with Munster? Like, I don't even care what those numbers.
His stats are irrelevant.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Couldn't care less what his stats are. It doesn't matter. He's an Origin player. He's just born to play in this arena.
This is the one. Look, the positive for New South Wales in this situation is you don't need Luai to be the man. Yep. You don't need him to do what Munster does. You've got enough guys, key players in key positions. So it's a bit of a strange matchup because on the flip side, Queensland need Munster to be the man. Now, that's under the impression that we don't know what's going to happen with Reece Walsh. Now, Reece Walsh could come out and become the man, but right now, if there's one guy Queensland need to be the man, it's Munster. And so these two comparing, they're just not the same. They don't play the same roles in their side, so it's very hard to compare like a versus battle. It's almost better off to compare. Yeah, I mean, it's just hard because like DC versus Cleary does make sense, but the Munster Luai, they just play such different roles.
You could have deleted all those stats and under Luai written Cleary's halves partner, and under Munster just written Origin player. Would have made more sense. Like,
you're talking about them as isolated players as opposed to comparisons.
And how they fit into their side.
In their side, the role that they play. New South Wales don't need Luai. I mean, it would be great if he comes out and has this huge Origin moment, then that's bloody awesome. But I just don't think that that's the style of footy that they play. I don't think that's the point. That's not the tip of the spear for them. The tip of the spear is Teddy, Tommy, Cleary to a degree, whereas Munster has to be the tip of the spear at the moment.
Realistically, that's Jerome Luai's position at club level too.
For sure, yeah.
Like he's a role player. He's not a role player, but like they constantly change around who is on that left edge, and he just makes it work with whatever he's given. And it's the Clearys, the Yos, the Edwards that we're always going to talk about, the Tyos, these sort of guys. I think the biggest thing for me about Luai, and we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, like him, don't like him, whatever, he's a winner. He wins time and time again.
Yeah, the biggest part around Luai where sort of spoke a bit about it, I'm like, I'd probably would have lent towards going Nico Hines at 5'8", but when all the press was on Nico to 5'8" for the Blues and Luai, has he done enough to get picked or not? Probably not this season. And then the 2-3 games leading into Origin, bullshit, that's my spot. And he stood up and was outstanding for the Panthers. And that's what you want to see. You want to see your incumbent go, no, like you're going to have to do more than that to take my spot there. And as Guru said, he's stepped up time and time again at finals football for the Panthers. Did it at the World Cup for Samoa. He's been solid enough in the Origin arena. So it's like, the more you look at it, he deserves his crack.
And I think it's really unfair with a guy like Jerome Luai. I think he's the main one that all of a sudden 2021 didn't happen or it didn't exist or it doesn't count.
It was his debut
record.
year.
Yeah, they won by a lot, but I'll give you the hot tit. Halves play a role in teams winning by a lot.
Well, I think he had 2 try assists.
When was the last time you heard someone talk about it?
I know.
It's weird how we just put a line through 2021, rules, whatever. Both teams are playing under the same rules.
Well, everyone talks about 2020 because of the loss and like, worst team in 40 years, blah, blah, blah. But no one talks about the following year of the record win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very strange that people forget that, Luai was a part of that. Munster is in such an interesting position because now maybe he already was this to the real nitty-gritty rugby league fan. He was already a big game player. But now Munster is considered a big game player to anyone that watches rugby league. That is a lot of expectation. And that is in the same... He has the same amount of expectation, or not at the same amount, but it is comparable to like Cam Smith, Thurston, Lockie, because when they were coming through, everyone was like, Cam Smith, you better fucking play. Like Queensland was like, it's your job to get us the win. Jonathan Thurston, it is your job to get us the win. Darren Lockyer, it is your job. Munster is that guy now. It is his job to get Queensland the win, and he couldn't be any more different than those three blokes. Like Thurston, Lockie, Smithy, they're different characters. So it is going to be interesting. I do think this is the first Origin he's going into. Maybe last year's you could say he went into as well, but this is like truly he must play well, otherwise it's a bad game for him.
Oh, I think last year he was in a pretty similar boat, and I agree with you. Like, he is that guy, whether he wants to be or not. I personally think he does want to be. I think he loves being that guy, but he's got no choice. He has to be that guy.
He has to be. He has to be. Yeah, can't wait. Now, Cleary versus DCE. So Cleary actually came out DCE came out and said, I'm not too proud to admit that it is Cleary's Australian jersey, but I would love to get it back. Which I love the honesty. I just love the honesty. But Cleary, 11 games, 3 tries, 4 line breaks, 11 forced dropouts, 6 try assists, 7 line break assists, 89% tackle efficiency, 132 average metres. DCE, 11 games, 5 tries, 1 line break, 7 forced dropouts, 9 try assists, 6 line break assists, 91% tackle efficiency, 87 average metres. I think that DCE and Cleary, like statistically, it's not irrelevant, but it's just they're halves. Very halves do things that can't really be measured. So they are the key of leading their team around. Like, how do you measure field position? How do you measure setting up for a shot that you know what I mean? You can't measure that. But I will say, in this battle, I think Cleary is. We talk about chips on our shoulder. I think he is not furious, but he is going in this game going, never again am I getting outplayed by DCE. I genuinely think he feels like, never again am I going to let what happened in 2022 and 2020 by DCE. I need to become the best 7 in Origin.
And it's not like DCE outplayed him because he's a better footballer. He's got more talent. It was just between the ears. It was knowing to kick early, knowing when to kick to spot. All those little things that, as you said, you don't have a stat for that stuff.
You just don't.
Just turning them around, leading your kick chase, and just getting whereas, Nath's got just all the ability you could possibly. Like even when you look at those stats, like the one thing that stands out for me is the 89% tackle efficiency. DCE's got 91. The difference is when DCE misses a tackle, it doesn't go down as a missed. Whereas Nath, I think he's one of the best defensive halves we've ever seen.
Mate, he jams blokes.
Jams them. He doesn't make poor decisions. I think that, and I think to be fair to DC, I think he has been better this year than what he has been in. Like, I remember sitting here game 1 last year going, beautiful. We're going to go with DCA all day.
Yeah.
I feel like he has been better this year, but I think that tackle efficiency between the two of them is very misleading.
Yeah, and for people listening on, what do you mean by that? It means like if you just completely miss the tackle, it doesn't really. You don't miss the tackle. So if they just go straight to the line and you don't touch them, it doesn't count as a missed tackle. It's more falling off things.
And there would also be a lot of missed tackles that should go to DCA that normally fall the way of Olakwatu, Kohler, those sort of guys.
I think he's been much better this year, DCE. I think he's really... It's probably like the one part of his game that he's really improved over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah.
Because there's a period there where I did feel defensively he was... I wouldn't say a liability, but it was a concern, that edge. I will say, though, with the edge that they look like they're running out, which is DCE, Holmes,
Gilbert,
Tuolangi.
Cobbo.
Cobbo, sorry. Cobbo does have a brain explosion in him. Gilbert, yes, he played Origin at, on the edge, but for club he's played 13. That's probably the side they're going to be coming at. And
that's, I think, as well, as we were talking about with DC and his defence, I think that it could prove to be an issue because he does defend differently to other halves in this competition. He is, And that's right. I think if Felice Kafusi was available, at least you would have the guy there that has been there before and understands what he's like defensively. That's where I think it is going to be a big test, that you've got a couple of guys that haven't really defended together before. Coming up against, your Jerome Luais, your Critters, these sort of guys. Hudson Young, who's got attacking upside as well. Yeah, it'll be a challenge.
Big challenge. I think from a New South Wales perspective, Cleary, watching that game against the Broncos, it must just make you so excited. The fact that just before Origin, you could see a game where his normal game plan got shut down. Mid-game, he just completely changed the way he played. He ended up running for 27 runs, over 200 metres. But that is that's the boon you get from experience. Like playing more rugby league and understanding that, okay, if your game plan isn't going well or they're getting shut, they know what's going on, they're shutting it down, you need a plan B, you need a plan C. And I think that Cleary coming into this year, he has plan B, C, whatever. He's got as many plans as you need to get it done. And that's what's scary with Cleary this year.
It's interesting that game against the Broncos you're talking about, like Mosley Otter dropped a ball over the line that Cleary would put him over for. Mitch Kenny dropped a ball that he would have put him over for. All of a sudden, if he would have finished that game with another 2 tries to his name, as much stupid as it sounds, another 60 Supercoach points next to his name, we're all talking about him a lot more. Like, I thought that game against the Broncos was like a 9, 10 out of 10 performance for him.
So good.
But other guys just let him down slightly in key moments that I think it didn't get as much hype off the back of it as it should.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I just loved the fact that not only did he have those, moments that were drop balls or whatever in regards to other people dropping his try assist, just the fact that he completely changed the way he played. And if you go back and watch that 2020 grand final against the Storm, they just rattled him.
Yep.
Like, it was a Cam Smith special. Like, we've been around for a while. We know how to rattle young halves. We have a similar-ish half in Cooper Cronk, so we know what upsets him. It's taking game plans out of his hands. But I just think that this version of Cleary, he's ready for nearly anything.
Which is exactly what DCE's done the last 2 years. He's gone, sweet, I'm not going to let you get comfortable. I'm going to kick over your head every single time. You're going to be on the back foot all day.
Yeah. And I'm not going to get you the field position, the rhythm, because that Penrith game is all just about rhythm. It's just all
I'll kick on
about
third. That's fine with me.
Yeah.
Sweet.
What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, that's where these two will be measured, boys, is the kicking game, won't it? Two blokes who will do the vast majority of the kicking for their sides. Two blokes who have won countless games of footy at all levels over the years off their own boot. So when we come out of this series, saying who had the better kicking game, there's every chance that whoever the answer to that is, their side's won the series. So again, like those two, you get to the end of the series going, haven't scored a try, actually wasn't a try assist. But if they've been dominant with the boot, both long and short kicking, that'll tell the story.
Yeah, it's oh man, I can't wait for this. What an interesting, you've got this young fella that's got all these accolades that's waiting for his Origin moment, and then you've got the older guy who it's almost his redemption arc to a degree in Origin. Made it into Origin, got dropped from Origin, has come back, has won the hearts back of Queenslanders. For many a year, Queenslanders were off him because of the Titan situation or whatever. And yet, after the 2020 and 2022 series, a lot of Queenslanders, they love DCE now. They love DCE. So it's such a different path that both players are taking.
I will just say this too. You mentioned, and so did Tim, about how their kicking games will define them. Just keep in mind this game's played at Adelaide Oval. Yeah. Now we know, history tells us that when you play on fields like this, because it's not a square stadium, it changes the dimensions a little bit. It can quite often really test kickers. Games you've seen at the SCG, and even at the SCG when you go, like you say, you go and watch games at the SCG that Roosters played the last 2 years, and quite often it's away teams that come there and their kicking game can really struggle on those fields. Now, the Blues trained at out there at Homebush on Sunday night. I imagine they're arriving in Adelaide today, so they're not going to get a stack of time down there as well. And it's something that I've noticed over the years, that kickers can really struggle sometimes on fields like this because it changes the dimensions of everything.
Yeah, and also Matty Johns reckons that it's just a different environment there. Like it's a very slippery kind of ball, so it's going to be interesting to see how that affects the kicking as well. Now onto the front rows. So Tavita Pangai Jr. and Haas, Flegler and Collins. What's really interesting, I won't read out all the stats. What's really interesting though is both New South Wales forwards average more metres They both have way more offloads and both have a better tackle efficiency. So statistically, Tavita Pangai Jr. and Haas, so when you look at the statistics with Haas and Tavita Pangai Jr., 91% tackle efficiency, 13 offloads, this is Tavita Pangai Jr., 13 offloads and 129 metres. Haas, 98.4% tackle efficiency, 190 metres, 25 offloads, 56 tackle breaks. Like, that is an anomaly. No one's going to get close to that. Whereas you look at the Queensland front row, 94.4% tackle efficiency. Oh, okay, apologies. So he does have a better tackle efficiency than Tavita Pangai Jr. But 5 offloads, 113 average run metres. And Collins, 124 average run metres, 91% tackle efficiency, only 6 offloads. I mean, the big stat for me here is the metres and the offloads. That is a huge difference.
Before we do get to that, is Payne Haas at 98.4% tackle efficiency when he's a front rower making 50 tackles a game, not the most amazing stat.
It's fucking wild.
Playing huge minutes.
It's incredible. And if I get to an end of game and I look at the stats and Payne Haas has made less than 40 tackles, I go, oh, did he get rested? Was he not out there? What happened here? That is amazing.
Yeah, averaging 16 runs a game. 25
And this
offload.
is when we say there's been great front rowers before him, but there's been no one like Payne Haas. Who we go, Webke, they're not like this guy.
Yeah, we've never seen
That is
anything like
off the charts.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. Absolutely insanity that... he's giving you 9 to 10 out of 10s every single week as a front rower. Like, it is just
on the offloads as well. Obviously, TBJ's only played 6 games. So on average, they're besides Jermaine Hopgood, Payne Haas and Tavita Pangai Jr. for like forwards who have played over 5 games are pretty much one in the top 3 of the whole NRL.
Wow.
For average offloads per game.
And then you got Junior Polo, who we know can offload. It is it's honestly, it could be the game decider. Like, if they go out and do that kind of those stats in Origin, we just won't be able to hold them out.
I left here last Monday thinking that team list that Freddie's named, there's no way that's how they'll run out. All indications of how they train the other day looks like that's how they will run out. No idea about Queensland, but from the look at the New South Wales side, that's what it looked like how they would run out.
It's such a gamble because if Tavita Pangai Jr., if he starts and the game doesn't go the way New South Wales want, he could be gassed in literally 10 minutes, and all of a sudden you're going, oh my God, we need to get him off ASAP. And you haven't been able to use his main asset at all in that first stint. But if it goes the way that you want it to go, you could be 2 tries up.
It'll be interesting to see if it doesn't go, because as we said last week, you'll know in the first set. You'll know in the first set if this is going to go the way that we want it to go with TBJ. I wonder what Freddie's... Will it just be if it's not looking good, take him off and regroup to get him back out there as quick as you possibly can? You might burn an interchange there, but if you can get him off, regroup and get the proper TBJ. And look, I criticised him last week saying I wouldn't have picked him. Watched him very closely the other day. His body language and everything was tremendous down there for New South Wales. You can tell the other guys, none of them are second-guessing having him there at all, which shouldn't be a shock to any of us. But I'm feeling more confident about TBJ than what I was last week, without a doubt.
Yeah, I'm with you, Guru. Again, the fact that we've had a week to regroup and think about these things, the more I think about the TPJ session, firstly, I prefer him off the bench. I'd start Junior Bolo and just TPJ's impact off the bench to a tiring pack. Yeah. Like, the first 20 minutes of Origin are absolutely killer. And for those reasons you just said, I hope he'll be all right, but I'd be far more confident of coming on 20, 25 minutes in with his impact. At club level, where he needs to string games together and not have brain explosions and not make errors, not have all the negative sides of TPJ, I have my queries. But at Origin level, where we're saying, mate, go out there, I need 1 good performance for you, or it might be 3 good performances from you. In limited minutes, we know he can be, for periods of play, the best front rower in the game. So I'm like, I shouldn't say how much can go wrong, because that's a dangerous thing to say about Tavita Pangai Jr., but go out there, go ham for 2 15-minute stints, whatever it might be, 2 20-minute stints. And I really see where Freddie's come from. Like, I get it. It excites me, makes me nervous, but I think he can have a real impact on this game. I'd love to see him come off the bench come game day, but...
Yeah, and for me, you said the offloads are so important. For me, it's not about offloads, it's about effective offloads. It's about offloading in the right moments.
And that's where the first 20 minutes of the game, you get into this arm wrestle, you probably don't encourage too many offloads, particularly some Larry left field offloads. But once he does come on against tiring forwards, 20 minutes in, and the game starts to break open a little bit, there'll be more opportunity for offloads. That's where I think he'd be more effective.
Well, I personally thought, and this is me just being paranoid, tinfoil hat, I thought it was a bit of smoke and mirrors to try to almost get the Queensland forward pack in this mindset of like, all right, let's go. And get the Queenslanders to make the mistake of being too hyped up for that first 10 minutes. Because we know Flegler and Collins, they see red mist. They see red mist. And so I just wonder, is it a bit of mind games from Freddie to say that he's starting? So all week the build-up is Tevita Pangai Jr. versus Flegler and Collins. Is there going to be a punch on? Is there going to be this? And you've got Collins and Tevita and Flegler reading the papers going, fuck, let's just go. So I wonder whether that's going to be a bit of smoke and mirrors, but I can't wait.
So if you have, back to the point of TPJ, Club v, we'll find out what Origin delivers for him, but if I'm going TPJ v Flegler at club level, I'm taking Flegler every day of the week. I want him for the duration of the season, long term. But as a head-to-head, playing 30 minutes each Origin, I'm going, I think I might take TPJ.
Yeah. You're right in regards to you just need 3, like let's say you did play him for 20 minutes. You just need 3 20-minute good periods from him. Tevita can do that.
In a series.
In a big way.
We saw, I feel like last year the Maroons with Josh Papali'i, he only played about 20, 25 minutes max, didn't he? So maybe they do similar with TPJ.
Mm.
So it's, you're not asking that much, are you?
Well, I can't see him playing many minutes. I just don't know. I just can't see him keeping up with the pace of the game for longer than those stints.
And Cam Murray will come on and play, probably 55 straight, if not 60.
I'd say. Now, on to the Queenslanders. Now, what I love about this forward pack versus each other is in the front rowers, it just represents so much what usually happens in Origin. You've got 2 explosive, statistically unbelievable forwards where you go, probably give them the nod statistically. But then you go across and you look across to the Queenslanders and you go, okay, statistically, their ceiling's not as high. All of these things. But they turn up in Origin and they just go absolutely fucking crazy. And you see this whole other man out there. And I do think Flegler and Collins have that in them. They are dogs. They're going to go for 80 minutes. If you said Collins and Flegler, I need you to go 80, you know they could. You know they could. And they'd love it. They'd embrace it. And so that's where every player, every forward front rower has ticker. I'm not saying they don't. But just that 80 minutes willingness to go that extra mile, maybe that's where Flegler and Collins win the game.
Well, for me, it is where they can win the game because, I know what I'm going to get out of Payne Haas. I know what I'm going to get out of Flogler. That's my best.
That's a good
there.
one, Flogler.
I know what I'm going to get out of those two, but it is the game with TPJ. I don't know what I'm going to get. He hasn't been in the arena before. The other guys have. I know what I'm going to get 100%. I really like your forward pack.
And I know people are sitting there screaming, going, Haas could go 80 minutes. Yeah, for sure. But Haas is the superstar. Haas is the guy on the billboards, on the papers. Flegler and Collins, they're just the battlers. They're the battlers that somehow turn up for Origin sometimes.
And you talk about this really, he obviously played big minutes, Payne Haas, and it's different but similar, how Munster needs to step up for Queensland. With what's coming off that bench for the Maroons, and we know how Maroons are known for this first 20-minute dogfight, we need Payne Haas to step up, and he will. I don't think he's played a bad minute of footy his entire life, but he has to be big for us.
Well, actually, under 12s, he dropped 3 balls in the first half. Just so you know, Timmy the Tin Man, Haas has played half a game that wasn't that great. My brother's cousin's sister saw him play it.
I stand corrected. Apologies.
As someone that I have no doubt watches Haas more or closer than we do, how many minutes do you think he'll play?
Haas?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it'll be just game dependent. Yeah. Really game dependent because you got Martin and Murray on the bench. It'll just be how the game is unfolding. But what I love about the starting of Haas is that if Tevita's ass is hanging out, you know Haas has got the gas tank to pick up that the slack of Tevita. And that, not to say that definitely will happen, but as I said, if you guys are defending constantly for the first 10, Tevita, what's the longest stint he's played at club? Not very long. He does gas quite. He's a big boy, put it that way.
I would think probably the goal would be to get him through the first half, play the first 10 of the second half, probably have a 15 minutes break, and come on for the last 15. So looking at anywhere from 60 to 65 minutes, as you said, Kempy, game dependent. The goal might for him to play the first 40, but we know at Origin and the speed of it can be like, after 30 minutes, like, okay, this bloke needs a spell.
Yeah.
So he misses the last 10 of the first half and maybe the first 15 of the second half and comes on. But
Or it could be a matter of he's done his job. Let's get the fast play the balls on and break this game completely
yeah,
open.
you know what? It might be the first 30 minutes, misses the back half of the first half, start of the second half, then comes on for the last 25. That probably makes more sense because 40 minutes as a middle in Origin, it's a big ask.
And he's a big boy. He's a big boy.
So I think that's probably more likely.
They're making it might be 20. They could be 20 minutes in, and Freddie could be feeling like if I get some quick play the balls here, we are going to score points. So I really think it's game dependent. Really game dependent.
Isn't it crazy when you look at Payne Haas? Wednesday's going to be his 8th Origin game. He's 23 years old. Like, he could have 10 more years of Origin ahead of him, and we're already talking about him as the main front row for New South Wales. Like, when he went down at training the other day, my eyes straight, I never realised how important he was until right now.
I will say you absolutely are going to miss Jake Trbojevic in the middle there.
Oh, without a doubt. Yes.
Right?
Hell yeah.
Seriously, we talk about Origin players, and he's almost like on just a step above the Flegler and Collins in regards to. They may not, and I know Jake Trbojevic is a superstar now, but like he's not the highlights player. Statistically, you're not going to sit there and go, "Holy heckers, look at that!" 180 meters and 20 offloads. But the clean-up work, the tough stuff, the 1%ers, the never give in, the needing to go to places that no other man will go to, Jake Trbojevic goes to those places.
And he's just one of those. Like when Payne went down the other day, I turned to Matty, I said, "Fuck, is Dale Finucane available?"
Yeah.
Like he's the sort, because Gerbo isn't. It's the sort of guy I want in there.
Campy, I'm throwing a real curly one at you, and I want it to be a real quick, short, sharp answer. And I should have saved it for another week. Like, no, I want to hear it now. I'm so keen. We sat here at the back end of last year of the regular season. The Broncos had just shit the bed. This isn't a dig, don't worry. And Pat Carrigan had missed the back end of the season. And we all spoke about who we would prefer at the Broncos if you're building around. Would it be Carrigan or Haas? I don't want justification. I want a one-word answer. You can re-sign one player for the next 10 years, Carrigan or Haas, the Broncos. Who is it? I don't want you to validate yourself, justify yourself. I want a one-word answer.
That's fucked. That's fucked. That's just like trying to pick your favourite child.
Yeah, pick it.
His parents already picked Sam, so
And I've come to live with that decision.
And so they're both on the same amount of money?
Yep, same amount, both on $1 million a year. Next 10 years, you can only have one of them.
Oh, man. I think last year I said Carrigan.
I think we all said Carrigan last year off the back of that losing streak at the end.
Oh, man, I don't know. Maybe Carrigan, just because of the captaincy.
I would still go Carrigan personally.
Just because of the captaincy side of things. Yeah. But in regards to what you can do on a footy field, like Haas is in his own league. Haas is in. If you're talking about pure footy, like on the rugby league field, nothing else matters. You go Haas.
So yeah.
But if you're talking about off the field and all the stuff that Carrigan, everything like that.
Which is what makes it so hard because you're not just stacking up stats on the field.
No.
So
who would you go one word answer? I'm Carrigan.
That's why I asked him the question because I didn't have an answer.
On, mate. Don't cow it out now.
I would go Carrigan.
Matty?
I'd go Payne Haas. He's just a once in a generation thing.
Bleeds blue, Matty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know.
I don't know either.
Watching Haas this year, it's just like, bro, seriously, he's so good. He's so good.
If you were another club trying to decide which one you'd sign, you'd almost be happy to say, Brisbane, pick yours, I'll have the other one.
Yeah, whatever you would say. Because you win either way.
Yeah.
You win either way. Now, onto the hookers. Appy, 11 games, 2 tries, 2 line breaks, 4 try assists, 4 line break assists, 87.6% tackle efficiency, 58 metres. Look, this is not really one for one because he's a halfback, but 11 games, 5 tries, 8 forced dropouts, 9 try assists, 9 line break assists, 85% tackle efficiency, 98 metres. Stats aren't really comparable. As a Queenslander, I've got so much respect for Appy's talent, his ability, but for me, Hunt every day of the week. In Origin, Hunt is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, Benny Hunt for sure. And I think that we'll talk about it soon, obviously, when we get to the bench. But when you consider that Hunt's got, he might be the best or the second best hooker in rugby league. The other one's sitting on the bench. Appy, it looks like he'll have to go close to 80. Nico Hines spent time at dummy half the other day. So I don't know how well that's going to work. But I have my same concern with Appy that I had last week. And I'm not sure how he's going to go playing huge minutes.
Look, I think Hunt is just as crafty as Appy. I think physically he's a bit stronger. But Appy Coruscant, at his best, we're talking about the back-to-back premiership winning hooker. Yeah. So it's like, although I would pick Hunt in this situation, Appy with Cleary, Luai, with Yo, that is scary, scary stuff. As a
There's no stat for it there, but just Hunt's kicking game and how smart he is with his kicking game. Like that's what killed us at the back end of, I think it was game 1, 2 or 3 last year. Like just when Hunt came on and just the moments he would pick and choose when to kick long, he's just a genius.
Well, it's crazy, and I said it on the podcast before, but Cam Smith, before the series even started, he's like, I'm going to tell him to do this, and this. Big game comes, he just did exactly what Cam Smith said, and it just went, pick the game apart.
Yeah, really happy for you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like we all know how they both play. It's going to be an incredible matchup. Appy scheming around the ruck, constantly dangerous. Nines are all about their forward pack, though. I do think that the good thing for Hunt, though, is he has... because he can play 7 and he also plays 9, could even play a bit of lock if he wanted to. He's just got more... if the game goes certain ways, I think he can handle it a little bit better. Whereas I think Appy, he probably needs the game to go a certain way for him to just kill it.
It has to go in a certain way for Appy, but if it does, it's his game.
He will honestly tear us apart. Like I can already see it in my mind, Appy jumping out of dummy half, taking 2 to 3 steps. Sometimes he passes it, sometimes he doesn't. And every single play of the ball, the markers are on red alert because they're just wigging out about Appy Coruscant. I can see it happening.
And as you guys said before, they've picked a team of middle forwards that can all offload. And that's going to suit Appy down to a T. If it all comes together, like Freddie's planning it in his mind, it could be lethal.
It's so lethal. Like so many points could come through that middle third because your forwards, if your forwards do exactly what you hope they're going to do, very, very tough to stop.
And even if it's not points coming, it's just that, like, with the guys that are offloading there, Queensland are going to make 9 tackles every set and be on the back foot entirely. It just takes so much out of the tank.
Where do you see going with Hunt versus Appy?
Yeah, you boys sort of touched on, my mate, on the points I was going to touch on there, and it was around, firstly, that I think Ben Hunt, firstly, your hooker's only as good as your forward pack. Appy will need the go forward and the winning that battle through the middle to impact this game. Ben Hunt, I think his game being more well-rounded, as you said, Kempy, he can influence the game if Queensland's middles don't dominate as much, and he can still be a bit more creative there. So, all pack dependent, but as Guru touched on, I just think the triple threat of kicking games for the Maroons with Benny Hunt at number 9, particularly the long kicking game. You've got DCE and Benny Hunt, 2 of, if not the best 40-20 kickers in the game and long-range kickers in the game, just probing. And when you have Munster, who's got a good kicking game, again, very good long, Munster, DC and Benny Hunt, you can't, there'll be a lot of pressure stacked, put on Nathan Cleary because he'll be the go-to kicker for the Blues. But the Maroons could go any way, so they can't all bite in on one bloke.
Yeah.
And the second they all line up for Ches, because I think he's getting it, Benny Hunt steps off that other fourth tackle and pots a 40-20. You can just see it happening.
Even Harry Grant's kicking game has gotten so much better as well. Okay, on to the back row. Frizzell and Young versus Gilbert and Fafuda. Frizzell, 10 games, 4 tries, 3 line breaks, 0 line break assists, 4 offloads, 6.3% tackle efficiency, 98 metres. Young, 11 games, 5 tries, 3 line breaks, 2 line break assists, 22 offloads, 89% tackle efficiency, 103 metres. Gilbert, 11 games, 2 tries, 1 line break, 16 tackle breaks, 4 offloads, 91% tackle efficiency, 118 average metres. Fafuda, 11 games, 4 tries, 5 line breaks, 6 line break assists, 23 offloads, 92% tackle efficiency, and 170 average metres. Look, I think that Gilbert, Young, Frizzell, all about on the same level of how they could impact a game. Now, some may play better than the other. I think Fafita is the real ace up the sleeve in this situation.
And I think for Fifita as well, he's the big aspect that worries me we didn't talk about when we're talking about Hamiso. Like you look there, what's that, 24 offloads so far this season? For Fifita, like it's not a 1-2-man job, it's a 3-man job. If he can get that offload away, Hamiso's all of a sudden up against scattered numbers.
And to compare stats just quickly, 23 offloads for Fifita, 4 offloads for Gilbert, 22 for Young, 4 offloads for Frizzell. So it is really interesting that it's almost a mirror image of back rows.
Yeah.
So you've got Young, the game breaker, Fifita, the game breaker, and then the battler of Frizzell and the battler of Gilbert. I do think that Fifita's game breaking is a step above Young's game breaking, but we haven't seen Young in Origin. We just don't know what he's going to do.
I think they break games in very different ways too. And I think that just when you optically look at it, the way Fifita does it is just so damaging and unbelievable. But like Hudson's got his own little ways.
Well, I'll tell you
big
what,
impact on games.
there was a scary quote this week that made me a bit worried about Hudson from a Queensland perspective. He said basically like, they asked him who he been the biggest fan of in camp or whatever, and he said Nathan Cleary in the spine. He just said it's one thing to play against them. He said it's another thing to play with them and just see how good they are at, like, and I'm paraphrasing here, see how smooth they are, and that's what scares me. And this is no disrespect to Jackie White and Fogarty, but we haven't seen Hudson Young outside the best in the business.
Well, the reality is Jack, like he's a tailor-made 5'8". He's not a natural 6. He's done incredibly well there. But he's not like these Penrith boys. So I agree. I think the other thing with Fifita that, you know, obviously this year we all talk about how he's just improved as far as taking the line on and just getting the ball in the right spots. But I think his ball playing has been tremendous this year. And that's the other thing that really worries me with Hamiso, that Fifita's realised that he can be as dangerous just holding the ball for that second longer and then giving it because he just draws guys in. It's a scary combo there.
170 average metres. The closest is Gilbert, who's been playing 13 at 118.
And also, he's battling with himself. As far as I can see here, I just looked it up. I just saw it on Twitter. He's never reached 130 per year before.
Who's that?
Fifita. So, like, his next best is 128 metres per game. That's according to Jason Oliver.
And that's the other thing as well with Fifita. Like, realistically, if you miss that tackle on the front line, he's got Hamiso next to him. It's a try.
Yeah, he's gone. He's gone. I cannot wait to see. So will it be Young versus Fifita or will it be Young versus Gilbert?
Frizzell and Fifita, I believe.
Yeah.
And then Hudson and Gilbert.
Ooh. So you've got the battlers, the high quality, good defenders. Frizzell versus Fifita. I tell you what, if I wanted, outside of Cam Murray, who I probably would have put there to take care of David Fifita, Frizzell's up there with one of the guys I'd want to do a job. He's been in the Origin arena plenty of times before. He's tough, he's fit, gets through a bunch of work. He's also athletically gifted, you know, not to the degree Fifita is, but he's a beast.
And that's where you have got these two, you know, upside juggernauts against two guys that obviously Frizzell, he's got the runs on the board as being an Origin player. Tom Gilbert, he might not have those runs on the board, but I heard Wayne Bennett say the other day, he's an Origin player.
100% he's an Origin player. I got no doubt that, I don't know how good he'll play. I know Gilbert is ripping and tearing.
He'll do a job every single. You already know he's that caliber before he's got 5 years of runs on the board.
Yeah.
So, you know, Origin, you know, the history of Origin.
He won't
says,
go missing.
Not at all. No.
And there were a lot of players, some players get to Origin and they go missing a little bit. Gilbert's not going.
Well, that's the history of Origin tells us that the high upside guys taking on an Origin player, the Origin player will win the vast
Exactly
majority
right.
of the time. Yeah. And you can't measure that shit. It is what it is.
That's it. Like, Fifita, like, he's certainly the scariest of those four by a mile. He's he's the upside player there. We think we'll get a good game out of him. In fact, I'm pretty confident we will. But we also know that when he plays big minutes, there can be defensive lapses, there can be lazy efforts. Whereas Tommy Gilbert, you know, he'll put in for 80 minutes.
Yeah.
He'll be 110% effort. He puts it all in. I do, and I touched on it last week, I see it as a great opportunity for Gilbert. The Blues going at Gilbert in that edge of DC, Gilbert, Val and Cobbo. I really think they're going to go there a lot in this game. Gilbert, I know he's played enough on the edge before, but I think he's a much better middle. I'm optimistic as a Blues supporter that they picked him on the edge rather than stuck him as a middle. That being said, it's nice and intangible as well. Origin player, you know he's going to get a job done. They wouldn't have picked him there if they weren't confident that he wouldn't. So I'm not upset by it, though. They'll have a good
Well, I mean, because he hasn't played on the edge, there may be spacing that usually isn't there because he hasn't played on the edge all year. I mean, that could be a reality.
Yeah.
He could have the biggest crack out of anyone. He still could make some errors because, as in defensive reads or whatever, because he just hasn't got the reps there. So that could happen, but I can't wait. I actually think the back row is relatively even in regards to, so Frizzell's experience like tips you guys over the edge, but then Fafita's superstardom tips him over the edge. Hudson Young and Gilbert, they're both kind of like, we just don't know, but what we do know for sure is Young and Gilbert are going to rip and tear all day long.
I think it's so interesting with Hudson too. Like I've always looked at him and gone, he's got what it takes to be in the Origin arena. Whereas for Fafita the last few years, I probably haven't. But in the last 10 weeks, I've gone, fuck, okay, it's happened now.
He's like, 23 years old or something now? It's like so crazy, bro. He's so young.
And I genuinely do really hope that Fafita and Hudson are starting edge back rowers in State of Origin for the next 10 years. Because I think they're both tailor-made for
It'd be so good. So good. Could you imagine the battles they're going to have if they're back rowers?
Well,
my God.
Fafita's one that has every opportunity in this series to go, all right, you've been the most dominant edge back row in the NRL. You have the potential to be the best forward in the NRL. He could come out and tear this apart and we just go, there he is. The best, one of the, he could be anything, girl.
He could be anything.
Oh, my
And that's
God.
where it worries me that inside him he's got little Cam Munster that no one's talking about.
Now onto the locks. Arguable the battle of the, I think the battle of Carrigan, mate versus mate, Carrigan versus Haas. I can't wait to see that. I can't, because they are really close. They complement each other so well at the Brisbane Broncos. Carrigan's not going to take a backward step. Haas isn't. But in regards to like genuine battles, impact on the game, this is almost as important as the 7 battle in my opinion. Like Isaiah Yeo versus Carrigan. It is the I don't think, and maybe I'm probably being hyperbolic. It's Origin. Excuse me. But have we seen 13s at this level, this high level going at each other? Far out. I just don't know. Maybe we have, if you guys can think of some 13s that could play this high level of rugby league.
I think 2 guys as well that are just, like we talk about so many of these matchups are such different players. These 2 are so similar.
Mate,
so many ways.
And they're just so impactful for their clubs. You know what? You had, I think Corey Parker played 13 for a bit, did a great job. Gallen played 13 for a bit. But did they have the silkiness that Isaiah Yeo and Carrigan do? Now, I'm not saying that their career is better. Corey Parker and Gallen, we're talking about premiership winners here. Obviously, Yeo is. But just a 13 that has as well-rounded game as these 2, I don't know. I can't remember.
And plays the big minutes. Just
Big
does
minutes,
it all,
big hit-ups, big defence, great ball playing, great offloads, super smart.
And like you just know that whatever points are scored in this game leading up in that set, one of these 2 would have had their fingerprints.
I love
over 2 or 3 times.
I love that. I agree with all your boys' sentiments. And it could also be Cam Murray and Tino Fasuamalawi starting, and you could still have the same conversation.
Yeah.
Because of the quality of all 4 of those blokes.
100%. It is. This matchup is incredible, and I'm sure there'll be people that will remind us about some great 13s that have come through. It's more just both 13s, both teams having 13s that if Carrigan got picked at 13 for Australia and Yeo didn't, you'd go, it's like, okay. If Yeo gets picked for Australia, you go, yeah, it's okay. Just so good. So anyway, 11 games, 0 tries, 25 tackle breaks, 11 average runs, 9 offloads, 97% tackle efficiency, 165 average metres. That is Isaiah Yeo. Carrigan, 12 games, 0 tries, 21 tackle breaks, 14 average runs, 16 offloads, 96% tackle efficiency, and 170 average metres. Like, their stats are so similar, it's mental.
There's nothing in it.
There's literally nothing in it. Where do you see, I guess, the difference? Because they're going to do the same thing. I'd say Isaiah Yeo may be a bit better ball player, but I would say Carrigan has more physicality. Like, he's almost a front rower in the way he runs.
I think both these guys, as as linkmen, they're both tremendous. But I think what separates these guys from others is their ability to pick and choose those moments. And I think Yo does it better than anyone in the game when he just wedges in between the A and the first marker. And he knows he never gets it wrong. Yeah. He always wins that set of 6 on that one hit up. And I'm starting to see Paddy Carrigan do it more and more as well. Just that awareness, just that spatial awareness to know, okay, now's the moment for me to go and I win the advantage, or he tips on, or he goes out the back. I think there'll be a set of 6 in this game that is won by one of those wedging runs they do, because the rest of the team just, and you can see whenever Yo does it, Nath Cleary goes, okay, let's go. I go now. Yeah.
Where do you see the difference, Timmy?
It's the ball play, mate. Yeah, of Isaiah Yo, and we keep talking about how heavy the Blues have gone on Penrith players. And a lot of it comes back to Isaiah Yo being the middleman in between Api Coruscant, former Penrith obviously, Luai, Cleary, and just the transition when they go from side to side is so smooth because of Isaiah Yo and what he does. You know, if I'm looking for a bloke to truck it up and do the hard yards, this is no knock on Isaiah Yo, but probably narrowly I would go towards Pat Carrigan. As I said, I think he's more of a front row, heavy sort of prop forward where he does the hard yards. But Isaiah's ball playing, I think he's so slick, and I think that could be the difference between the sides.
It's also where the differing. I think one of the big differences is just their body shapes. So Isaiah Yo is so much longer, and it makes him, if you go up top to stop the offload good and well, his leg drive is just incredible. If you go low, he creates something. He's just so hard to handle in that respect, Isaiah Yo.
You know what doesn't get spoken about enough, in my opinion? Paddy Carrigan was player of the series last year.
Yeah.
We're talking about the player of the series in series with Kalen, an incredible win. And also, I'm pretty sure that was his debut series, wasn't it? Could you check? Maybe he debuted the year before. I tell you what, it might have been his game 1 might have been his second game, maybe, but I'm pretty sure it was his debut series.
But realistically, it could have been his 3rd series. No forward should come in and have that much impact on a footy.
It was his debut.
Yeah. Wow.
Debut series, player of the series. When we talk about made for Origin, Carrigan is made for Origin. He is purely made for Origin. And so I cannot wait for this battle. I cannot wait for it.
Which I probably think is, one thing between the two of them that I think if you, polled 100 people, I think more people would say Carrigan's an Origin player than Isaiah Yo at the moment, even though Isaiah Yo's played more Origin football. I think people look more so at Carrigan from that perspective.
Well, I think that Isaiah Yo will have more impact if the game plan that Cleary wants to play is being played. You'll just see Isaiah just carving up. Whereas if it turns into a battle of attrition, Isaiah Yo still is, he can take mad hit-ups, but Carrigan is that guy. He's the guy of a battle of attrition. I think Carrigan, that suits him, that kind of like the ball is in play for 15 minutes, there's no errors, then someone needs to take a hit up, And I just think that kind of footy suits Carrigan quite a lot.
I was sort of a little bit surprised to see their average meters were so similar at club level. I would have thought Carrigan trucking up a little bit more would have had a few more meters on Yo, which just goes back to Yo going, "You're incredible, mate."
He's incredible.
To be arguably probably the best ball playing lock in the NRL, but still average the same meters, one of the best middle forwards in the game as Pat Carrigan.
It's crazy.
That's because he picks his times. Yeah. Perfect.
Every run is like
every run is perfect.
Yeah.
Like defenses for Paddy and Isaiah, but especially Isaiah, must be a nightmare because every time it's not a pretend to pass. We always got these forwards that are like, oh yeah, I'm going to pass. It's a genuine. He could throw a mad ball to Cleary, or he may run as hard as a front rower, and it's so hard to defend. I think as well, like Isaiah Yo would probably be looking across, going, a lock. One player of the series last year. I'm supposed to be the best lock in the competition. Huge battle.
And not only that, Carrigan was on the bench for 2 of the games last year.
He's so made for Origin. It's crazy. He's built for it. I'll never forget the scenes when they showed inside on his debut, halftime in the locker rooms. He's in their forward pack, the Queensland forward pack, doing these ones on his debut. Incredible.
That ties into the Haas v Carrigan debate. Well, obviously on field Haas, but then you see shit like that and you go, oh, that's like just build a club around that for 10 years.
Fucking hell. Can't wait for this battle. Okay, now next battle, the utility. Hines versus Grant. Look, this is it's so unknown what Hines is going to be used as. We know exactly how Harry Grant is going to be used. So like right now, of course Harry Grant has the upper hand here because we know what he's going to do. He's broken your hearts, multiple times now in Origin. But Hines is the Dally M player of the year. If he comes on, becomes a link man and has a couple line breaks and a try, would we be surprised? Absolutely not. So it does scare me to think of a Hines coming on when everyone's tired because he's so good at front foot footy.
That's the thing with Hines. We could be sitting here on the Thursday morning saying, well, Hines is an Origin player. He's just got that about him. But it was so funny. When we were down at Coogee Oval the other day, I was watching Hines and how he fit in. And my big worry is he the right pick for the team? We don't, you've got Harry Grant and you've got Ben Hunt, which I wish we had those two sort of players. And I was sort of sitting there going, geez, we just don't have that perfect 14. And then Craig Wing walked past me. I just went, fuck. That's what I want. That is exactly what I want.
Yeah. If Appy goes 80, Hines may not get on the field, realistically.
Depending if they want to give Isaiah Yole a rest, I think.
If you're going to give Isaiah a rest, do you put Cam Murray there?
Murray,
Or do you,
that's a good
we've
point.
got the blokes
Good
there.
point. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
If the game's tight, or let's say the Blues are trying to defend a narrow lead, and Appy's got the 80 in him, he might not get on the field.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. I can't wait for Harry Grant, though.
I can. Yeah.
Oh, man, he is just... And when he's playing your team, he creates so much tension and anxiety, it just does your head in. Every time, if there is a marker that is a hair out of place, Harry Grant can see it, and he takes it. And he does exactly the right thing. He runs the ball exactly the right amount of metres. The amount of times he'll step out, he'll take 3 steps instead of 2, which makes the A defender stay, and then he creates space on the edge, or he gets out and boom, just hits the afterburners. I am super excited to see Harry Grant come on and do his job.
It's just so frustrating that, we pick Appy, who's a fantastic player. I'm worried about him playing the big minutes, and you've got your bench hooker who is well and truly good enough to be playing 80 and would handle himself across 80 minutes, but you've just got the luxury of picking St George's halfback to start at hooker. It's an unbelievable position you guys find yourselves in. And yeah, Harry, I've said before, I think he'll be the second best hooker ever eventually. And I think that these years that he's going to spend with Ben Hunt are going to be so good for him. So good for him.
Cannot wait. Cannot wait for Harry Grant to get on the field.
And just having 2 series behind him, combinations with Cam Mutz, Daly, Cherry Evans, it's only going to get better and better.
Yeah, going to get better and better.
And as you said too, your forward packs, your hooker's only as good as your forward pack. Your forward pack, everyone is in form at the moment.
Especially when Harry Grant comes on at the same time as the blokes we're about to mention. Oof.
Which is when Harry Grant comes on the field, that's the exact moment I want Jake Jorovic out there.
Yeah, I know, to cover everything.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to the bench. Murray, Paolo, and Martin versus Tino, Cotter, and Arrow. What a battle. What a battle. We won't go to stats because it's almost irrelevant to a degree because they're playing different roles to what they would play at club because they're all starters at club except for Arrow, obviously, recently. I don't know which bench is better. Maybe knowing the known, so knowing how they can play at Origin in regards to Harry Grant, knowing what he can do, maybe that tips the scales in Queensland's favour, but we don't know what Hines is going to offer. If Hines goes on and does what we hope he can do, then this could genuinely be a 50-50 even split of who's got a better bench.
If we're including the 14s as part of this conversation, I'd lean slightly towards Queensland, but if you just look at those 3 forwards, I think I'd rather our boys.
Timmy?
Them 3 players, they're almost like perfectly like for like, aren't they?
Yeah.
And a great sign of 6 of the best players in the NRL. You blokes, Guru in particular, talk about how starting isn't the be-all and end-all in the current rugby league era. It's like your bench impact is, it can be just as effective off the bench. Those 6 players are as good as they come in the game at the moment. I don't know who's better out of those 6. They're so similar.
It's so good. Like Tino, Polo, Cotter, Murray, Martin, Arrow.
And this is where I personally think it's never been easy in rugby league to lose a game from the coach's box, just depending on when you put the right guy out there.
And the quick play of the balls and knowing when to bring him on and when to...
So does Liam Martin come in through the middle or on the edge?
I think it's another player by year kind of thing. You know,
Yeah.
see how Hudson Young goes. Does he handle the moment? Does Frizzell handle the moment? Martin may come on through the middle, or Hudson Young may get 20, and like he might be struggling. He might.
I
not be
guess
struggling.
the other thing is you talk about playing it by ear. Is the Fafita effect? If Fafita's causing a ruckus, maybe you just go
Get Murray out there.
get Murray. Do you go Murray out there and put him? Do you go Martin on him?
No, I'd go Murray for sure.
We've seen him do it before.
If anyone's causing carnage on the edges, Murray's getting put straight on there. Like he's the guy to get the job done, in my opinion.
Then
defensively.
we just lose so much through the middle though without Murray.
Yeah,
Martin's also a dog in D.
Yeah, I would be happy to put Martin up
Yeah,
against him.
same.
I would fix the problem with the best person possible quickly, rather than be like, oh, but we could use him for the middle. I just think that Murray is such a good defender. I'd be plugging that hole with Murray.
Yeah, I don't know. If you lose the middle though, with Ben Hunt and Harry Grant, it's Red Rover.
The one thing I do like is I think that the Blues I mentioned earlier, but are going to play some really expansive footy, and I think they're going to use the ball out of their own end. And we have such terrific ball playing forwards with Isaiah, Cam Murray to come in there, Junior Barlow, one of the best front row ball playing forwards in the game. So I think that ties into our game plan. I honestly think we're going to go try blow you blokes out of the park early on, as we did in 2021 with expansive, big, long, wide passes coming out of our own end, and just make your pack work. Because you want to get into a dogfight, the Maroons. They do it every single year.
Yeah.
You want to get us to your level, kick early and turn into a dogfight. I don't think the Blues want that. And I think the selection of Josh Addo-Carr, for example, off the back of one game shows that.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see Cotter again in the Origin Arena. And then Arrow coming on. Arrow and Martin, could they, like, it's so bizarre. Could Arrow and Martin be any more similar? Like, they are so similar in the way they play. It is crazy.
And they're both just as slept on as each other.
Yeah, for
how
sure.
important they're going to be in this game.
Like, Martin was arguably Australia's best. He was so good for Australia, Liam Martin. And, like, even when he come on the other week after being gone for a while, he was so aggressive. It was crazy. His game for Australia, he was shotting Nelson Asafa-Solomona. Like, no one does that. No one does that, but the dog, Martin, does it. Really interesting, I reckon, series for Paulo. Because he's a veteran now. He's no longer the big, young forward that can offload. And he's a guy that's going to have to lead from the front and almost take a similar role that Papali'i took with the Queensland side. Be a leader to the young guys coming through, teaching them certain things you need to do that you don't need to do. Cannot wait.
I can't wait until an hour before and we see the proper team list. And then you get to really analyse
who's going to be where.
Yeah. I'm sure there'll be part of the coaches that'll see the other team and go, fuck, I wish I would have. Or whatever it might be. It'll be very interesting.
Because I wonder whether...
I reckon there'll be part of both coaches going, what will Freddie do or what will Billy do?
Because if Tavita Pangai Jr. isn't starting, would have it been smarter to start Tino over Flegler?
Yeah.
TPJ is going to be the deciding factor, how Freddie uses him.
I reckon he comes off the bench.
I reckon he comes off the bench as well. I reckon just that first 20, you just don't know how it's going to turn out. I reckon they start with Paulo because he's been there, he's done it, he knows the pace of the game. But Freddie did say, it's a gamble, I'm all in. So maybe he's just going, nah, no longer am I holding back of like, oh, safe this, safe that. He's just going, nah, I'm backing our boys to just be too big, too strong through the middle.
How good.
Oh, yeah. That is the deepest dive ever into an Origin match. We will not be doing that every single Origin match. But obviously we'll be reviewing this Thursday, guys. So make sure to be ready for that. It'll probably drop 3 p.m. On Thursday. So make sure to be ready for that. Now, just quickly before we get to the NRL games, Daniel Anderson, former coach of the Eels, Warriors, St. Helens, and New Zealand international team, had a body surfing accident at the back end of last year and is now a quadriplegic. The NRL has today announced the Daniel Anderson Support Fund, where a link will be in the show notes. Round 25 will also be Daniel Anderson round. I think he is still involved with the Roosters. I think at the time of the incident, he was with the Roosters.
Yeah, it's part of their junior development.
Yeah, and so there's also a piece, I think, about him tonight on Fox League done by Yvonne Sampson. But there's going to be a link in the show notes. podcast and YouTube of where you can donate to try to help Daniel Anderson. Obviously, it's going to be extremely expensive. He's a quadriplegic now. Just sending our well wishes to his family, himself. Really, really sad news. Really sad news. So donate if you can, please, to help him. It's going to be a tough life, but help him where we can as a rugby league community.
Yeah, one of the great guys, Ando, has obviously been in the game for a very long time. You remember he coached the 02 Warriors side that went all the way to the grand final, then coached the 09 Eels side that went to the grand final. So been very successful for a long time, and you won't find many people that have a bad word to say about Ando. And I think, he's always been a guy as well that's not been afraid to have a tough conversation. So there could be a lot of people out there that hate him. It seems to just be that people respect him.
Yeah. So if you can donate, please do that. It'll be in the show notes. Now let's get on to the rugby league. Dolphins defeat the Dragons 26-12. Look, the Dolphins fairy tale continues. The Dragons, look, I did see a fair bit of critiques of the Dragons. I personally, yes, was it rough around the edges for the Dragons? For sure. Are there problems that continue from last week and the week before and have been around for a little bit? Yep, for sure. But I actually think there was a lot of positives to take out as Dragons fans. When the game was on the line, your main three guys that you're building the club around, Sloan, Amon and Sullivan, all had big moments or tried to have big moments. Now, those three guys also, had either a bad read in defence or an error or whatever. So they're not the final package. But the things that you can't teach, they have them and have it in spades. They just need some game time together. They just need some time in the NRL. I actually came out of that game with the Dragons quite excited for their future. And that's not even me trying to be glass half full or appease Dragons fans at all. I genuinely came out thinking they weren't the complete rubble that I thought they would be without Ben Hunt. And this spine, who's had no chance of playing together, like no footy together in years, had moments that were pretty special. And yeah, they had their bad moments too, but they also that no one comes into first grade as a complete package. What do you think about the game, Guru?
Yeah, I thought the negativity on the Dragons was a little bit harsh as well. I think you've also just got to accept that no matter what we thought of this Dolphins team at the start of the year, they're the real deal. They're a real footy side. They're not going to beat themselves.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to accept that going in, week out. I tipped the Dragons as an upset to win this game. I genuinely thought they'd be really up for it. I also think that sin bin came at a really crucial moment for Jack de Belin. And I think that really did turn this game. I thought the Dragons were in it up until then.
Well, the Dolphins completed at 88%. That's a tough rookie side without your main guy. You've got all new combinations. You've got a new coach. I'm not. I know the Dolphins had some injuries and all that. I get all that, but I really did think that if you watch that game purely from what does the future look like for the Dragons, if we can get some good coaching in these young boys, the future looks bright in my opinion.
For sure, and I think you also need to keep in mind that as much as they've been there for a few years now, they haven't been utilised properly the entire time.
Have to ask ourselves, have they been given the best coaching possible over the last few years? Whether it's their fault or the coach's fault, I personally don't. I think their progression over the last few years hasn't been as good as it could have been at other clubs.
And if you don't want to call it coaching, call it opportunity. They haven't had the opportunity to develop next to each other, which was the plan the entire time. Then it went out the window, and I'm not quite sure why. And, obviously when we have that conversation, you're talking about the fullback, the 5'8", the halfback. Little's exactly the same. He's finally showing what Jacob Little can do. I thought, we had him in Team of the Week. He was tremendous on the weekend. So I know Dragons fans are sick of us saying it's going to take time, but it's not like you're running out there with no future whatsoever.
Yeah, you don't even have to, there are other clubs that had to completely rebuild the whole squad, whereas, they just need to make one or two really shrewd recruits, and all of a sudden, they could be a top 8 side.
Yeah, for sure, I agree.
What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, on the Dragons, it's I think there's such a bright prospect in Amon, in Sullivan, and I look at it in two ways. I think now, I was so excited when they did try something and put Benny Hunt to hooker to give these two young halves an opportunity to continue in their combination. And I thought they looked good. I couldn't believe they didn't stick with it. Now that Jacob Little's come in and been given a proper opportunity and killed it for them on the weekend, he was outstanding. It's you kind of have to send Jaden Sullivan back to the bench because you can't drop Little to the bench off the back of that. So, I said in terms of like looking towards the future for the Dragons, you boys are right. Amon, Sullivan, Little, all these blokes with plenty of footy to come in their career. There's good signs there.
Lomax relatively young,
Yeah.
Sully relatively young, Finai twins.
And then on the Dolphins side of things, the question, even when they stunned everyone earlier in the season with all these big upset wins, or what we thought were upset wins, and the question was going to be, how do they go when the injuries strike and they lose players to Origin and all that? Well, just another box tick for them. They get to the first major Origin week. The Dolphins are playing. They have no Corfusi, Gilbert, Tabuai Fido, and they put another win on the board. They just, every question asked of them, they answer.
Unbelievable. It is. The Dolphins, I got no other words to express what their season has been. Like, they are a genuine top 8 threat now, and we are so far away from the start of the season where people were like, these guys are no chance. Like, they barely may win a game. This is an NRL standard. I would hate to be playing the Dolphins heading into finals footy. Imagine they need 3 of 5 to win at the end of the year, and you also need games to win, and you've got to come up against this Dolphin side with Wayne Bennett and at full strength. Like, they could take it to any team. Like, really take it to any team. They took it to the Broncos. It is mind-blowing what they're... Like, Cody Nikorima at fullback was outstanding. Milford, who had even been a bit indifferent at the Dolphins, he was outstanding on the weekend as well. Like, it is just... I cannot believe how well they're playing. Jeremy Marshall-King.
Tom Gilbert not there, who's been enormous for them this year.
It is, honestly, Jermaine Asako. Like, there's a world where he is the form winger of the comp right now.
Oh, my God.
It is unbelievable.
There's a world and we're living in it.
Literally living in the world where Jermaine Asako is killing it. Like,
Is he the most improved player in this competition?
well, the thing is, I can't say it's improved because we saw glimpses of it. So it's like improved from a consistency perspective of like him reaching his potential.
Which is like Jermaine has shown us in bits and pieces how good he can be, but he's never done it 2 games in a row.
No, you're right.
He's done it for 12.
He has done it for 12 and looks like not even missing a beat. Not even missing a beat. I think he's only 27 years old too. I'm pretty sure. Could you check that, please? It is just 26 still. He's got plenty of footy in front of him. Unbelievable stuff at the Dolphins.
Who does he play for internationally? Is he...
Kiwis.
Yeah.
Kiwi, okay.
Like, you could genuinely fight his way back into a Kiwis.
He'll be in that
jersey.
side.
Well, I'm trying to think. Who's their wingers? Kemamala.
Jordy
obviously
Rapana.
gone. Rapana is in the frame.
Who was the first name you said? Kemamala?
He's obviously gone at the
Yeah.
moment. Who else are their wingers?
You'll have Matty Timoko will be in the centres.
You've probably got...
Joey Manu will be there at fullback.
I can't believe I'm forgetting his name, the winger for the Storm. Warbrick. He'll be in the mix.
I'm taking Isako before I'm taking Warbrick.
Yeah, at the moment.
I reckon.
Mile.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look, it is just... This story, this journey, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. What a privilege to watch. The Dolphins' ability to get in a grind is second to none. Like, they will just... It's so simple. The game can change as much as you want. The reffing can change. The fields can change. The coaches can change. The players can change. But one thing remains. If you just play really basic, grindy footy, you'll win more games than you lose.
Ability to get in the grind and the ability for the 6, 7 and 9, no matter who it is, to control the game. Milf comes in on the weekend. He's kicking... I thought Milf was superb. He looked so composed all game. For a bloke playing for a spot in that team, and realistically, he's still playing for his career, Milf. I thought he was tremendous. Like, he was my man in the match, arguably for them, him or Osako. And the kicking game, everything was just spot on, just built pressure.
What else is there to say? Seriously, unbelievable from the Dolphins.
It's almost like with Milf, as you said, playing for his career. Like, if I'm another club, I don't know if I'd back myself to get what Wayne's getting out of him.
Yeah, you got to accept the fact that whatever Wayne does,
Yeah.
you just can't do it.
I don't think there would be a coach in there who would get out of Milf and a few of these blokes what Wayne is doing. He's just a freak.
And I think you'd be stupid to think you could.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get to the end of the season, see where the Dolphins stack up. Hopefully they continue on this run and hopefully they make the 8. It'd be amazing. Just to sit there and go, where does this stack up in Wayne Bennett's career?
Yeah. It's funny because if they do go on and do really well, I think a lot of clubs will actually not try to poach players because they're like, we're not going to pay 600 grand for a player that's probably worth around 300 grand because we know we can't do what Wayne's doing. They're playing worth this, that they're worth 600 grand. But do we have the ability to do that at our club? Like, probably not. So that actually leaves the Dolphins in this crazy good position where there won't be that much poaching. Obviously, the key star players, there will be like your Gilberts and all that kind of stuff, and Katoa. But on the edges, like, you gotta probably keep them.
It's insane what he's done. It's like write a script movie sort of thing. It's
Seriously.
amazing.
So, look, great win for the Dolphins. Dragons, as I said, they had 10 in the bin. Yes, there were some defensive errors and all that. But I actually saw a lot of hope there. I really did.
Just on the Dolphins very quickly, there's only 5 teams ahead of them on the ladder. 3 of them have had 2 buys already.
It is wild, bro. It is wild. Like, they are, what, 1 win from top of the comp?
Yeah, they are, yeah.
Yeah. It is absolute madness. Madness.
So this year they've scored 290 points. Melbourne scored 230. The Sharkies have only scored 9 more points than them. Penrith have scored 30 less than them. The Broncos, who it seems are high and flying every single game, have scored 16 more points than them.
Wild. Absolutely wild. So good for Dolphins fans. Now let's get on to the next game. But first, Engadine Tavern. Josh and the team are always stocked up with lager. Celebrations Newtown. The guys are loaded up for Origin. IGA Cairns Wakely and IGA Bligh Park. These guys have turned into some of the biggest supporters in Western Sydney. That is IGA Cairns Wakely and IGA Bligh Park. Crest Hotel Sylvania had a new arrival drop this week, so get in and don't miss out. St Kilda Hotel and the Grand Hotel. Great pubs in Armidale pouring Bloke Lager on tap for happy hour price of $5 schooners for State of Origin. Venues are also running a competition to pick the score for Origin and giving away great prizes. Barrowa Tavern have just started pouring Bloke beer on tap. Barrowa Tavern, is that how you say it? Barrowa?
Yep.
Barrowa Tavern. Just starting pouring Bloke beer on tap, and will also be offering happy hour prices during State of Origin this week. Pop in and see Tom and his team for some great food, ice cold Bloke schooners while cheering on New South Wales. Federal Hotel, only bottle shop in Mudgee, stocking Bloke beer. Currently have a big stack in store at a great price. If you're in Mudgee and want to enjoy some Bloke beer for Origin, drop into Federal Hotel and see Corey, the only stockist in Mudgee.
I picked up a case on the weekend from down at the Coogee Bay Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
Last
Bay
one.
Hotel.
Lucky to get it.
The last one. There you go. See, she's flying off the shelves. People are loving them. People are loving them. Now, on to Eels defeating the Cowboys 24-16. Bit of a strange one, this one. Bit of a strange one. If you just looked at it from a perspective of not the ladder where they're sitting and, you know, where they could be, good, solid game. But I do think where these two teams should be right now, they're almost a world away from it.
This was a prelim final 6 months ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
What on earth has happened? Parramatta won, credit to them, but I don't think they would have come away from that happy with that performance at all.
Well, Cowboys nearly came back into it before Mitchell Moses scored that last try.
Yep.
And Mitchell Moses was very, I think he's injured because he was quiet for most of that game. Dylan Brown was leading him around. It wasn't until the last 10 where Moses said, I need to close this game out and just, put it on. So that's a good thing because that's been a knock on him that he doesn't close games out. But, look, great win for Eels, but it wasn't convincing to me.
Far from convincing, and all didn't go perfectly. They lost Joe O very early. That's where I thought we had him in team of the week. Whittamoo Greg, I thought he was amazing in this game. He is such a goer, and they signed Joe O during the week, and he got his opportunity to show what he can do without him on the field. He delivered. I thought he was great.
He's almost been outside of Dylan Brown's form this year, and maybe Hopgood. Whittamoo Greg's been the story for the Eels. So just such another example of the coaching staff of the Eels getting these players that nearly fall out of the NRL to start playing some unbelievable rugby league.
Especially forwards. They just do it every single time.
Yeah. What do you reckon about this game, Timmy?
Yeah, weird time to say it, but I'm getting into your territory, Kempy, of last year with Para, where it's a weird time to say it off the back of the Cowboys conceding 66 to the Tigers and having players out to Origin, but I just see these glimpses of them where I'm like, there is such an incredible footy team in this Para outfit. And I'm like, provided they can make the 8, just like you did all last year, I don't care the downside of it you see, they can compete and potentially make a grand final again this year. Again, they weren't overly impressive on the weekend, but they did get the job done. They got the win against the Cowboys side who had their backs against the wall. The question we had about them going into the season was, all right, they've lost a lot of their depth. And then blokes you've touched on, like Weremu Greg, who's been outstanding this year. Bryce Cartwright, who's revived his career and have become genuine starting NRL players either again or come onto the scene and been some of the best on the field week in, week out. You know, Joel Fingawi obviously lasted 10 minutes with a calf injury on the weekend, but all of a sudden the depth looks pretty good. Like they had Lane out, Madison out, Barlow out on the weekend, so a lot of outs. Dylan Brown just gets better and better with every game. They've got this halves combination that when they're on their day, they're, if not the best halves combo in the comp. Something really excites me about them, even on down days.
I know, it's bizarre. Because you know what I think it is because you see 20 minutes of just sheer brilliance from the Eels, and you go, when it clicks for them, you go, oh, they're a top-tier side.
And like last year, if you can get to finals, and again, the key becomes, with Parramatta consistency, top 4, but they can be up and down all season, but when they need to turn it on for a big game like they always do against Penrith, or when it comes to finals, if for 3 to 4 weeks they can just switch on and go, boys, there's no turning back now, this is do or die. They've got that team to be the best couple of teams in the competition. So, yeah.
It's so tough.
I'd almost
one win outside the 8.
Yeah, I was just saying, I'd almost be disappointed to see them miss the 8 because they can do so much damage. They can finish 8th and potentially win the comp.
Yeah. And that's the tough thing with the Eels. It's like you can't fully write them off. I think the Cowboys, unfortunately, this year, I just cannot see them making a push. I just cannot see. Whereas the Eels, it's like, I can't put a line through them just yet. Even though that was underwhelming, they were missing quite a few players. And any team with Dylan Brown, Mitchell Moses, and Gutherson in it. So, they're just such a hard team. Like, please, can you just do it week in, week out? Just give me some consistency. So, yeah, it's tough.
I did I had an Instagram live last night and someone said Parramatta in 13th, are they done? And I straight away went, oh, fuck, they're in 13th. Probably not. But then you look at the ladder. They're 3 wins off first.
Yeah.
I know.
They're going to buy this week.
It's bizarre. It is bizarre.
Nothing has gone right for Parramatta so far this year. They're 1 win out of the 8, and their for and against is better than the 6 teams on top of them, like well and truly.
3 buys to come.
Which is that's the key, I think, key stat is that points differential, which shows you like their points differential is about 5th or whatever. And so it's not like they're getting absolutely belted by teams.
Well, just to jump in, like the teams that are above them, Newcastle minus 26, Manly minus 18, Roosters minus 67, Titans minus 31, Warriors minus 10, Raiders minus 50, shock me. The Eels are sitting with plus 52.
I know. So the Eels, they're hanging by a thread for me. They're hanging by a thread. I personally thought whoever won the game out of Cowboys and Eels, whoever lost it, I'd probably say can't make the 8. Even though technically Cowboys are still, in the race, they got to win. They got to go on a bit of a run. Eels are just hanging in there, and I think that, like for example, if Dylan Brown wasn't playing, like that would be seriously
tackle he made.
Oh my god! On 10
I was like, I tingled in places I haven't tingled in a long time.
God,
how good was that?
It's fucking so good, bro.
On the Chad.
On the Chadwick.
Like wrong-footed, come back inside and just chops him.
So good.
How about all his defence, though? Just old school, chops him around the waist.
Yeah.
But it's like, we know that that's not really what you're meant to do in the NRL these days, is chop around the legs. You get high, you get in the wrestle. All right, it might not be the most effective in terms of you might get the occasional quick play ball, but because he does with such impact and such force, there aren't really these quick play balls over the top of him, and he never misses a tackle. So what does that mean?
Yeah. It's... So the Eels, they're hanging by a thread. Their goal this year should just be getting the 8. Getting the 8 somehow, and then we'll see what happens from there. Cowboys, on the other hand, look, they were missing a couple of players for sure. Scotty Drinkwater almost single-handedly brought them back into the match. But I don't know what went wrong with the Cowboys this year, but they're not even close to the side that they were last year.
We walked away from Magic Round. They'd beaten the Roosters, and I think, like, collectively, as a sport, we all sort of went, geez, if the Cowboys their next 3 or 4 weeks can be good and they can win, they're back in this, and it's just turned into a disaster, hasn't it? Like when you consider last week what happened against the West Tigers, that was a living nightmare. And then, this game, obviously they improved out of sight compared to the Tigers game, just nowhere near And for me, the thing that summed it up was that last try that Mitch Moses scored. There's not a hope in hell anyone scores that try against the Cowboys last year.
Yeah. Yeah, look, to be fair, I guess, they're missing Tamalolo, Gilbert, Cotter, Holmes, Dearden, so in their defence. But unfortunately, the whole year has been like this. Even when they've been at full strength, they've still struggled a bit. So
next 4 weeks, Storm, by Panthers, Bunnies. So, at an absolute minimum, they have to cause an upset and win one of those. And even where they are, probably two out of three.
They need to win two of them and get the bye points.
Mate, even the game after that, they played the Tigers. I'd be going, no thanks. Imagine how
Tigers
excited the
doing well.
Tigers would be to play them again.
Yeah.
If you're looking for positives with them, I thought the debuts of Zach Laybut was very good. I thought that the winger, Derby, he looked unreal.
Yeah, he was good in the trials too.
Yeah.
As a crack.
Yeah.
Had about 1,000 runs.
He had 25 runs, 215 metres, 61 post-contact, 4 tackle breaks. So, look, some positives there.
Helam Lukey, I thought, bounced back with a better performance.
Yep, for sure. Much better performance. Scotty Drinkwater was absolutely outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Yep. He is so silky. It's crazy. I will say, interesting, I guess, update with the Cowboys. So Hiku looks like he's signed with a Super League club, and Alamotia reportedly was seen speaking to the Cowboys. And so I wonder whether Alamotti may be getting offers from, well, he's probably definitely going to get an offer because he's not contracted next year, I'm pretty sure, Alamotti.
Yep.
Could you see a centre pairing of Alamotti Holmes?
Yeah, potentially, but I wouldn't mind seeing the Cowboys build from within here. I think they've got players to be able to fill that role personally.
Yeah. Who would you replace Hickey with?
I reckon there's a very good chance that Laybut does. If they don't sign anyone, I think he'll be the guy moving forward.
I'm surprised that Alamotti's even been given permission to go look elsewhere, to be honest. As in, not permission, like he's within his rights, but I'm surprised he hasn't been re-signed yet by the Bulldog.
Yeah, you're right. He's signed up until just this year.
Yeah.
I've not been that impressed with him this year. I think probably just around all the hype coming in. I think his work rate has been, like, he has a crack, but I think the first couple of games of the season, we saw some really good signs going, this bloke's got a big future. We still might, don't get me wrong. I don't think he's reached the hype that we've expected, and it's been like very negative because he's very early on in his career. He's new to the NRL, but I just don't think he's looked overly threatening in attack at time. He's a big, strong body, but I'm not convinced just yet.
Really? I actually have liked his progress this year. He reminds me a lot of Will Penzini, where they didn't come on the scene and explode everything apart. I've liked his development. Now, I agree in regards to, the hype coming out of grade was this guy is unbelievable, blah, blah, blah. But from a purely, if you take away that hype and you go a young 18-year-old centre coming into grade, how has he gone? I think he's gone decent.
It is hard to remove that hype, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's where it's maybe a bit unfair of me. I'm just like, he scored one try all season. He hasn't had since round 5 or since round 6. He's played 7 or 8 games. He's scored one try and hasn't had a try assist. I know that's not everything, don't get me wrong. And the Doggies have had their excuses in injuries and all sorts of different things. But the one thing he does have, he's got ticker. He has a crack. He's got a big work rate. And off the back of that, the attack will come. He'll settle into the NRL. So there's certainly a future there. I'm just saying I'm not convinced yet.
And as we all know, normally it's game 50, 60. You see what these guys are really like. What are we at? Game 12? 13?
So young.
Long way to go.
So young.
And I'll tell you what else around that. They're starting to get their troops back now in the back line. They'll have Braden Burns is due back either this week or next, who in limited opportunities this year has been really good. He could come in for Alamotti. I'm interested to see which way they go. Whether they stick with Alamotti or they say, go have a couple of weeks in reserve grade, bring Burns in. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Be interesting for sure. Now on to Warriors v the Broncos. This was an interesting match because it looked like the game was sewn up, and then the Warriors just showed their grit and determination, fought their way back into it. Big talking points coming out. People felt that 2 of the Broncos' tries was a forward pass. Look, I'm happy for people to say I'm wrong or whatever. I actually didn't think that the Ricky one was forward. I thought the Reynolds to Mem was forward.
I thought the Ricky one was forward, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think a lot of people think the opposite.
Yeah, interesting.
But I actually think it was the as soon as the Reynolds one was thrown, I was like, that's forward.
Yeah.
Whereas I just think that the Ricky one, the optics of it made it look
because
forward.
they slowed and they stopped it.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think that's what made it look a lot worse. Whereas the Reynolds one, that's definitely forward.
I'm surprised they gave the Ricky one live. Whether it was
so
forward or not,
awkward.
it looked so weird and
Yeah,
awkward that I didn't think they'd give it live.
Yeah. What do you think, Timmy?
Yeah, I thought the Ricky one probably forward.
Yep.
And then the other one, touch and go.
Really? What do you reckon?
I'm with you, Denon. I thought that the Reynolds one was 100%. The Ricky one, I'm trying to remember the Ricky
The
one.
Ricky's where he stopped in the line and then started
He's
again.
out of dummy half.
Out of dummy
Oh,
half with Billy
yeah.
Walters.
Yeah, I'm not
Better
sure.
made it forward. I remember it.
See, as I said, I thought the Man one was the Reynolds to Man. I thought that was clearly forward. Like you could see it leave his hands and go forward.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the Ricky one, personally, it just made it like it's like when players get tackled as they're passing the ball, it looks forward, but it actually doesn't. But look, I know people will say, well, this is your Broncos bias, but these are those 50-50 calls. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. And the Warriors, obviously, they're on the fucking bad end of them all the time. But from a Broncos perspective, we've had games this year where we've probably not got the 50-50 call. Although you could make the argument that those two tries, if we don't get them, then obviously the Warriors win. Yeah, maybe, but also maybe not. Maybe we win by more. You can't really tell what the future would have held. Like maybe we get that penalty, it makes our players amp up and we score more tries. So I can understand why Warriors are a little bit disappointed, but even their coach came out and said that was not the reason why we lost the game. We had plenty of opportunities to win the game. What do you guys think?
I thought the Brisbane scramble defence in different points was unbelievable. And I think that when you take it, how many Origin players are you missing? 5?
Quite a lot. Haas, Carrigan,
Cobbo,
Flegler, and Walsh.
Yeah. So when you take out, 4 guys in your line and without your fullback, the main voice there, it's going to change a lot of things. And I thought Brisbane defence was really good, all things considered. As you said, the Warriors scored a couple of tries in the last few minutes to make this one a little bit closer, but I thought, was it Tristan Saylor, the tackle that he...
the try saver. Oh my God.
By the way, Rocco Berry has showed you on the weekend why he's going to be so talented one day. It's coming together. I reckon he's going to be a classic example of he's going to hit game 50 and 60 and then just go bang. He's got so much talent, Rocco Berry. But yeah, I thought Brisbane's scramble was very good. As you said, I think the Warriors had plenty of opportunities and they just weren't able to get it done. That last pass or whatever it would be because the Broncos scramble was so good.
I will say I feel so sorry for Pompey because he basically got them back into the game and then he held back Mariner and everyone's blowing up at him and it's like, well, you wouldn't have even been in the position to win the game if he hadn't have stood up Staggs 2 or 3 times. Was it a brain explosion? For sure. A lot of people think, I've saw a lot of people saying, Marcelo definitely would have scored. I'm not so sure that he would have just completely ran over Mariner and also Saylor.
And even if you think he definitely would have scored, you still can't grab people off the ball.
Yeah,
simple as that.
It's like that simple. So I actually think both teams can come out of this quite happy. Really gutsy display in defence from Brisbane. Obviously, Brisbane shouldn't be happy about that last 10 minutes. It was really, really poor. But everything else was incredible. And the Warriors, I just love the fight that they showed. They just showed massive amounts of fights. And I know the Broncos were missing, 5 key players, but the Warriors are also missing players as well. So it's not just fully the Broncos. What did you think about the game, Timmy?
Yeah, I actually played a bit of footy a few years back with Tristan Saylor. He was a flashy young punk, and I just sort of took him aside one training session. I said, mate, we know you've got the attack, but you win games with your defence, and you'll forge your career out of that gritty defensive steel. And just good to see on the weekend he listened to me, mate. He's come a long way. But no, it was actually really good to see him after a pretty tumultuous couple of years off the field to come back and get that start for the Broncos, because I think he's such a talent. And we saw during his time down at the Dragons, he's such a confident player and he'd back himself. I really hope we see a lot more of him in the NRL, and I think we will. Unfortunately, probably opportunities are limited at the Broncos because of the side they've got at the moment, but I think we'll see him play a lot more down the track. And what impressed me most with the Broncos was they played quite a simple, almost a Wayne Bennett brand of footy going. We've got key players out. We've got new combinations coming in. Let's not overcomplicate this. Let's complete high, kick early, play high percentage footy. They did it, and you must have been stoked watching this game because they were such a resilient outfit, and just a sign for your depth this season. Oof.
Oh, loved it. As I said, first 70 minutes, I was sitting there going, absolutely incredible. And you almost give them that last 10 minutes because you go, they worked so hard during that 70-minute period. They were they conceded 8 penalties compared to the Warriors 5, and they both had 1 ruck infringement either. So Warriors won the penalty count. And so for them to stay in it the way they did, just super proud. Stags at the end there defensively, I thought, like, as a senior player, you probably shouldn't let that happen. But outside of that, like, amazing win for the Broncos.
I just think that for any Broncos team during an Origin period to have to go to New Zealand and somehow win, such an incredible knock. And for me, mate, I thought Adam Reynolds, he was like
outstanding.
There's probably guys that had better stats and everything. I thought he was almost my player of the week.
He was so good.
He was tremendous, Adam Reynolds. Just all the little things he does and just how smart he is. And, you know, he also had a try taken off him that was fair, but he had the entire Warriors line bamboozled in that moment.
And such a big win for the Bronx because having lost, they lost 3 of 4 or something, or 2 of 3, to get that win now and sit equal top of the table, you have all these Origin players going through a big 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Stringing these little wins together that, you know, going against that game as underdogs against a near full-strength Warriors outfit, it'll just allow you to rest players, or hopefully rest players across this period with niggles or who come up sore out of Origin. So, yeah, big win.
Herbie Farnworth, once again, getting through a mountain of work. Yeah, I mean, just a fantastic club win for morale. Because you're right, it was such a tipping point because if we lost this one, it would have been like 1 win out of 5 games or something. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, panic stations. Geez, this makes the Broncos just breathe a sigh of relief, like, okay.
And it shouldn't have been panic stations because your footy's been good. You know, if you lost on the weekend, no one would have held it against you. But all of a sudden, those losses add up. Shouldn't be panic stations, but very well could have been.
Yep.
Just adds unwarranted pressure, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In a week where you were missing, you know, a stack of stars, it just made me think about who would have thought we'd be getting to round 13 of the NRL and we haven't questioned the Broncos hooker rotation.
Yeah, God.
True.
Like, at no point have we considered making any changes. The name Tyson Smoothie hasn't been mentioned. I haven't said his name in so long. I'm actually struggling to remember the other young kid.
Moser,
that's it. Like, remember at the start of the year, we were like, oh, something's got to change. I'll have to try this. I'll have to try that. Like, these two, neither of them's been outstanding, but they've just done their job every single week, and that's all they have to do.
That's all they have to do. Warriors, I just love this new look Warriors. Tony Zelezniak was outstanding. Charles was outstanding. Pompey outside of that last little era. I thought Metcalf, he tried hard, probably didn't get in the game as much as he maybe wanted, but got through a lot of work. Adam Fanua-Blake was phenomenal. I just love this new Warriors. We're looking at a new Warriors. This isn't the same Warriors that we've known in the last few years. This is exciting times for this club. Super exciting times. I just can't wait to see them develop. I can't wait to see the plan come to fruition.
Tell you what, I'm really loving watching at the moment. I know I've underappreciated his game for a while now. Tohu Harris and his ball playing.
Oh, mate. Seriously.
So
he needs to be mentioned in that real top echelon of your Yos, your Carrigans, these sort of guys. Another classic example of not playing Origin footy, just legacy-wise. I think it hurts his case.
Now, before we get to the next game, store shout-out, Harry Brown's Eaton Hills, the very well-known EH, Common Ground Cellars, new bottle shop close to the University of Queensland. Ashgrove Liquor Legends, go in and see Ben. Maguire's Colmsey, right next to Colmsey Hotel, plenty of stock on hand. Grange Celebrations, drive-through bottle shop, pop in, jump out, see you later. Courtyard Bar, Cairns Esplanade, if you're up in the far north Queensland, make sure to get in the Courtyard this week. Grab a Bloke Lager on tap. Say good day to Ben as you watch State of Origin. We're in every Liquor Legends in Queensland, guys. Now let's get to Raiders defeating the Rabbitohs. The Rabbitohs come out and I thought, oh, here we go. There's going to be a bit of, not a score, but I thought they'll dominate here. They just looked up for it. They looked ready for it. And the Raiders just once again, they love a dogfight. They just want it so desperately. But before we get into it, just want to send our best wishes to Corey Huddlewitter-Nida. he's back at home now. Seen the video of him saying that he may not be in the clear yet, but the scans are going to come back. So just wishing him our best wishes, because that was scary as anything. But yeah, Rabbitohs versus Raiders. Jeez, the Raiders were just so gritty. They just refused to let the game get away from them. They just said, nah, not going to happen. Before they knew it, they were ahead, and they win 33-26. What do you think of this game?
Yeah, Raiders, they just find a way, don't they? It's not like... You guys just live in the 1 to 12 range, don't you? You're never going to win 13 plus. It's never going to happen. Yeah. You'll win ugly every single time, but you're comfortable being there. And to do it without your two edges in Whitehead and Hudson, huge effort. And you moved, in my opinion, probably your best middle forward of the last 2 weeks, Corey out to that edge, and I didn't understand it at all. I thought he was amazing there.
Horsburgh was outstanding.
Yeah. And you could even tell, like, listening to him talking to Matty Johnson, you can tell that I don't think he completely understood his role out there, inside out, but he's just a goer. He just has a red hot crack wherever he is. I think you'll move him back to the middle as soon as you possibly can, but geez, his stocks have risen so quickly.
Oh, mate, so quickly. So quickly. What did you think of the game, Timmy?
Yeah, and then so you add in injury to Seb Chris, obviously Corey Naira, he obviously went down as well. Very scary one there, so hopefully all good. So you said, just a gritty win. Like you mentioned being a 1 to 12 team. If we get a 13 plus lead at any point, we panic and go, nah, let's give them a try.
Yeah.
We'll defend them 1 to 12. But yeah, really, I think Matty described it. We chatted about this morning. It's just a fun game to watch. Plenty of points, plenty of attack. I don't think the Bunnies will be too disheartened by this. When you lose that many key players, the Raiders, I said, I know we started outsiders, but only really losing Hudson Young to Origin. Elliot Whitehead was out. I would have been disappointed if the Raids lost this game because it'd be like, well, we're not far off full strength. If we lost to a Bunny side with all those key players out, when are we ever going to beat them? So, but yeah, did the job and on to the next.
Mate, you're in the 8 now, sitting 7th.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Game off the top.
Yeah, one win, actually. One win. I want to give a shout out to Papali'i and Tapane. I mean, when you need your big dogs to stand up, geez, they stood up. And also, I love how much it represented Papali'i's selfless act to say, I'm not going to get selected for Queensland this year. Not only did he not get selected for Queensland this year and decided to retire from rep footy, he goes out and puts on that display. Like, you don't win that. I personally don't think you win that game without Papali'i in the middle of it.
It was the best he's looked all year by a mile, wasn't it?
Oh, my God. He was outstanding. Tapane as well. Like, I just love the fact that they rose to the challenge of Origin time, got a couple out, but we have an opportunity here to make up some points. I also thought it was Jackie Whiten's best game in quite a few weeks. I love what I saw from the Raiders. I love what I saw. So Papali'i, in 54 minutes, 216 metres, 66 post contact, 4 tackle breaks, 2 offloads, 33 tackles, 0 misses. That's in 54 minutes. Tapane, in 68 minutes, 20 runs, 227 metres, 102 post-contact metres, 1 tackle break, 1 offload, 50 tackles, 0 misses. Like, when you want your big dogs to stand up, that's standing up. Unbelievable stuff. Unbelievable stuff.
Obviously a really obvious comment, but obviously Albert Hobuate scored 3 tries in this game. Very good effort. I was looking back at when I first started the Guru page, 2018, and I had a post in that preseason about how he's a guy to watch this year. That was 5 years ago. And he's only now starting to really find his way to the point where he took a week off 3 weeks ago for a wedding, didn't he?
Yeah, sister's wedding, I think.
Yeah, and was just able to come back into a first grade side, score 3 tries off the back of it. I think he re-signed the other day. So congratulations to him. He's gone a long way around. Geez, he's a good player though.
Oh, mate. So good. And I think we're just scratching the surface of him, to be honest. Reminds me a little bit of To'o, the way he can, just that thick, solid nuggety guy. Shout out to Jackie Whiten. Obviously, I think he had a big moment where it was either a line break line break assist. So he had a couple line break assists, but 27 tackles with 0 misses on the edge there. That is so crucial. That is so crucial.
It was a big stage of the game when the Bunnies had put a couple, I think they'd scored 3 on the trot, and he threw that big pass to Croak down the sideline. And then Croak went to find him back on the inside. He was interviewed after the game. He was like, it felt weird, but first time in a long time he'd been in open space. He said he definitely was looking for Jack, and it ended up in Tommy Starling's hands. But that was Jack stepping up with a big play out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I know last week I'd kind of spoken about I felt like he was a little bit quiet this year. I thought really stepped up this. And again, another player that had chosen to retire from rep footy and delivered for his club. Quickly on the Rabbitohs. Look, honestly, not that much to worry about in my opinion. I think the Raiders are a much better side than we give them credit for this year. I think a lot of people give them credit now. But if you had to ask 6-7 weeks ago, where do you reckon the Raiders will finish? Most people would have said 8th to 10th. Whereas now you look at them going, wow, like they may challenge some of those top 4 sides. So Rabbitohs missing the players they were missing. I wasn't too disappointed. I really wasn't.
Yeah, I think I was disappointed in South Sydney last week. That game against Parramatta, I thought they were pretty poor in that. This game, obviously missing players and whatnot. It's obviously 2 losses in a row. They play the Titans next week. I'm hoping and expecting a statement game from South Sydney though.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Next week needs to be. You can't allow it to get to 3 games and lose to a team that, the Titans are outside the 8 now, I think, at the moment. Isaiah Tass had some really good moments. 2 try assists, a try, 163 metres, 3 tackle breaks, 11 tackles, 0 misses. Hasn't he just come leaps and bounds? Like
He carved us. Didn't he look good?
Far out. Like, to think that he couldn't get a club a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Bouncing from doggies to Broncos. Couldn't even get a start at the Rabbitohs. It took injuries and almost half a year of not knowing who to put in that outside back position because no one was playing well. And now it's like he's playing so well. Like, I think Jackie Whiten will probably force him out of that position, but that will probably push him onto the wing, which is tough on Milne because Milne's been all right. But the back line with Jackie Whiten next year is going to be fucking mental.
I can't wait.
Are they losing anyone next year?
I don't think so.
Not at this point. There's going to have to be a couple of players who won't get re-signed, but nothing's been.
But as far as next year,
Yeah,
you're not losing anyone of note.
Not at this point. No.
Holy Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't win a comp in the next 2 years, I'll be shocked. Like, with that Jackie Whiten signing, fuck.
And the best thing about Jackie signing as well is you're signing a marquee player. He can cover so many positions, as we know. So it's like,
I thought Cody was, some of the ball playing he's got in him is just, that try that Isaiah Tass scored, like, Matty Timoko came up and then he took 1 step back and you just saw Cody go, gotcha.
Gotcha.
You're mine.
Cody,
As soon as you backtrack, Cody just goes, yeah, I know what I'm going to do here.
Cody looks like he's going to set up a try. Like, when he's in the opposition red zone, looks like he's going to set up a try every time he touches the ball.
He looks like he's playing Oztag. Like,
Yeah.
He just looks like he knows you can't get him. He knows he can beat you in so many ways every single time.
He's 5 tries clear of second best try assist. So he's first on 18 and then Reece Walsh is on 13. And Reece Walsh is second.
Holy. So Cody Walker's on 18 try assists.
18 try assists. And line break assists, he's on 20. And then the next best is 14.
Oh, my God. It's a joke. It's a joke how silky he is in attack. Far out.
Shout out to Talis Duncan, who made his debut as well.
Yeah.
He's obviously came through the Roosters junior system, made his way over to South Sydney. I was watching a bit of content the other day, Sam Burgess, who was coaching the SG ball side when he came over. And he gave Talis his jersey. He said, when I was coaching the SG ball side, I went out to get a few people to bring into the team, and you were one that I identified that I needed in my side.
Yeah,
so
wow.
Sam Burgess saying that.
Yeah, wow. And your name's Tallis, like,
Yeah.
going to be good. I will say, I spoke to some people that had, I guess, spoken to New South Wales. They reckon Cody Walker was actually super close to getting selected for
I've heard
6.
that too.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, him before Hines.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, as in, like, Hines was always going to be 14, and you're going to Cody Walker at 6.
Wow.
So that's really interesting.
I don't mind
I think that's good science for New South Wales.
Yeah.
That it wasn't just like, nah, Cody Walker's done.
Yeah.
The fact that they were like really close to selecting Walker.
Which it
there.
makes you wonder if they were really close to selecting Cody. I wonder if they were really close to taking Cook if Cody's there.
Yeah, maybe. That's a good point. All right, let's get to the last game because I am dusted and done. Oh, okay, one more.
Imagine us outlasting you for once.
No, I'm still here. I'm still in it. I'm just hungry as anything. I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten all day. Knights defeat the Sea Eagles. Look, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. But-
If you don't, we will, I think. So
Look, I'm going to speak about the positives. Greg Marju and Dominic Young. Holy shit. They're basically, outside of some reads here and there in defence, this year they've done everything you would hope they could do. some of the efforts they do on attack is just like, I mean, I'm trying to think of other wingers that are doing that kind of stuff at the moment, and there probably isn't. Like, these guys are scoring freakish tries. Dom Young's try where he ran around everyone at 6'7" is unbelievable.
I think it was Sean Kepi who was out there, and you just saw him look up and look at, there was space in him, just go,
Fens Parker, Fens Kepi, gasses Garrick, and then Kohler comes across a little bit too late. Unbelievable try. Greg Marju bumped 3 people, like scores 3 tries. Like, they are so important to that side now, and it's something that you can really build around. I mean, obviously Dominic Young's leaving, but Marju, for example, as I said, like, if he keeps improving everything else in his game, far out, he's a good footy player.
Bradman Best just stays fit.
Oh,
The
man.
back line's proper elite all of a sudden.
Yep.
I'm so happy to see Bradman just on the field for extended periods. And
Yep.
you can tell by the way that Newcastle play, like the amount of times that Hastings get the ball, he's got KP waiting, and he just completely
him.
cuts him and just gives it to Bradman. It's a very good sign of the sort of ability that Best has got.
Bradman Best was easily his best game all year on the weekend. Easily. He was, just every single time in contact, he'd never get driven back. Like, he's so strong. What do you guys think of this game?
I thought Newcastle were the better side. I still don't think Newcastle were great, but they were definitely the better side. Manly, obviously, 2 tries off intercepts. And the other try was a bit of a rebound. I actually thought I didn't overly enjoy this game, to be completely honest with you. I thought it was a little bit messy.
I thought the ref just
Ref didn't help the cause,
killed
yes.
it. I will say, I just think that we are so far past, like, some of these reffing decisions. We need to set a budget aside, whether it's $1 million, $2 million, or whatever, to train our referees properly. And I don't mean as in they're not good refs. I mean as in put together a system that helps them make the best decisions possible and give them as much training as possible to make them as high quality as they can be. Sorry, Guru, I just said that.
No, I completely agree with you. And the bunker needs to do them some favours too. You're sitting in a chair, not gassed, with many replays. It's wild how many we're getting wrong at the bunker.
Oh, mate, it is. Like, we need to invest money into this.
Yeah.
We need to invest money into this because the game is. Imagine, let's say the reffing and the video ref was good this year, it would be the best game we've ever seen played of rugby league, like the best. But the bunker is just, and the refs are just holding it back. And I don't know whether, well, it probably is too much from up top telling them they got to do this, or not letting the refs just play it how they see it. I'm not sure, but we got to invest in improving.
Like, I was watching that Lachlan Fitzgibbon double movement. The most blatant double movement
So obvious.
imaginable. And the more they watched it, the more I thought, oh, God, they're going to give this here. Because they just kept looking. You don't need to look at that more than once.
You do not need to look. It's so obvious. Like,
I'm all for the referee sending that upstairs to make sure, but the video referee should have had one. That has been a double movement since 1908.
It's just bizarre. We need to invest in helping our refs because I just don't think they're getting the help that they need. The refs and the video ref, there's no way people that love rugby league can be making some of these calls. In regards to what I'm saying is the video ref, they love rugby league. Refs, they love rugby league. But I just think they're probably too confused with all the directives above that they're not getting the right.
Would you have been Kohler?
What did he get binned
Shot
again
on KP.
No, I didn't see any contact with the head. Yeah, and I'm happy to be proven wrong if you want to, like, I'm sure if you frame by frame, I didn't see any contact to the head. I saw contact to the top of the chest.
So did I.
I felt so sorry for him. Like, I thought Kohler was so unlucky in that situation. He almost timed his rushing D perfectly to shut down. Who was it that he hit? KP. But the ball was just off. And, like, he timed it so well that, firstly, it went back and was obviously a penalty and he got binned. But the ball hit Kohler first because he'd almost timed it too perfectly. And then to be sin binned, like, I didn't think it hit anywhere near the head.
He has been charged. He'll get a fine, but he has been charged.
So maybe there's video evidence that we can't see. Maybe. But the one that I watched, I was looking as closely as I could. I didn't see contact to the head. Did you see contact to the head?
Not live, I didn't think so. No.
But maybe there's more footage. It's very hard when people send screenshots because, like, you may not have the best angle. It may look like his head is contacted because of the whiplash, but there may be another angle that shows that there's space
you
between
need to see
it.
full shot.
So, but like that's where I'm like 10 in the bin for that. It's like it's so touch and go. 10 in the bin.
Once again, the 10 in the bin was a professional foul.
Yeah.
That's potentially a mistimed tackle by half a centimetre in a millisecond.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, what do you think about the game?
Yeah, as I said, I didn't think it was the most entertaining game. I think that we got to see little flashes of brilliance from Josh Schuster, little flashes of brilliance from KP, but just as a whole, it's a bit of a scrappy game. But I did think Newcastle were the better team.
By a substantial margin.
By a bit,
What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, I thought Newey the better team by a mile, and they should have been with all of Manly's key players out. So they should have won by at least this margin. I thought decent enough. As you said, Campy, there's the makings of a really good side around this Newcastle, around the club. Shout out to Lockie Croker, skippered Manly on the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Just such a good reward for a bloke who, we've spoken about him time and time again, so I won't go down that too much, but not the biggest, not the strongest, not the fastest, but just comes in, week out, busts his arse. And I thought there was a really good play that sort of typified Lockie Croker as a footballer. Dom Young made a line break. There was a kick that went through, and the only bloke chasing through was Lockie Croker to bat it dead. There was no one within cooee of him outside of Newcastle Knights players. I'm like, well, that's why he's got to where he is.
Hastings was going to score for all money on that play, and he just came from nowhere.
Yeah. Hard to judge Manly on this one because it's like missing Tom, DC, and Jake. It's like I think any team, missing Carrigan, Reynolds, and Haas is going to struggle.
But especially with the way that Manly stacked their cap.
Yeah.
It's really hard to be critical of losing teams on these major bye weeks of Origin where they're missing so many players, but to go back to it, it makes a win like Brisbane's. When you win with all these players out, it's super impressive, but when you lose like Manly did, like the Bunnies did, like whatever.
Yeah, it's tough.
One thing I'd say about Manly, when Turbo's out, I don't understand why Garrick's not playing fullback.
Well, see, I would have gone KO Weeks, given opportunity. After seeing him play fullback, I think maybe he's not a fullback. I will be going after this game. I will be going Garrick to fullback.
Yeah,
I think for sure you have to, because you're also not in a position where you can lose. You got to be winning games, Manly.
Yeah, for sure. I personally would have given KO a crack in like Seabolds did, but after that performance, I think we'll find Garrick back there. To be honest, next time. Thoughts on Ponga's performance, Gagai's performance?
Yeah, I thought Ponga started slow. He obviously had the intercept, but apart from that, I just thought he was very lethargic to begin with. Then he put Fitzgibbon through that hole. That was no try.
His first few minutes is on everything.
Yeah.
And then I think he got gassed a little bit.
It was like a 20-minute period where he just ducked out of the game completely to me. But then when they did need him towards the back end, he definitely stood up and delivered on a lot of big plays there.
What do you reckon, Timmy?
I thought, KP was really big. So when the authority needed to be put down, KP came with a few try assists and a few really big plays. He stood up when it mattered, and that's what you want from your big name players.
Outside of that, I think that's about it, to be honest. I think that is it. Anything else, boys?
Just in lasting touch on interest in that game, we spoke about it so much last week. Lockie Miller was on the bench, didn't get on the field.
Yeah, that's tough, man. I know he's been a bit quiet last couple of weeks, but geez, he's played some good footy before that.
Yeah.
Tough gig.
He's also put in a lot of effort week in, week out for them.
Yeah. All right, next week's tips. New South Wales versus Queensland. We've already done these last week, didn't we?
Nah, that was with Hello Sport.
That's Hello Sport. I've gone, I think, 16-12. Paddy Carrigan, man of the match.
I will go 20-18, New South Wales.
Blues 24-22.
Blues 20-12, Cleary man of the match.
Who's your man of the matches?
I'll go Cleary as well.
I will go James Tedesco.
Okay. Tigers, Raiders.
Raiders?
Yeah, Raiders.
Yeah, good game. We're going Raiders, though.
I can't believe how hard this one is, though.
This is a tough one. This is actually a really tough one. The Tigers have been great.
At
People
Campbelltown,
will be
too.
checking their podcast out.
What just happened? What just happened? You know what? I'm going Tigers. I'll go Tigers. Warriors, Dolphins.
in Auckland. Oh, I'm going to go the Dolphins. I'm sick of doubting them.
Warriors.
Warriors.
Titans, Rabbitohs.
Rabbits.
Rabbits.
Rabbitohs.
Yeah, Rabbitohs. Sharkies, Broncos. What a clash.
At Shark Park, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go Sharkies.
I'm going Sharks, but if all the Broncos boys back up, great odds.
I'm going Broncos.
Broncos. Is that the lot? I know.
Roosters, Doggies.
Roosters, Doggies.
I'll take the Chooks.
Roosters.
Yeah, Roosters. Cowboys,
Doggies.
Storm. Doggies. Oh, you're going Doggies.
Going Doggies.
Cowboys, Storm.
Storm.
Yeah, I'm going Storm.
Storm.
Cowboys should have Taumalolo back.
Should have Val back. You just
Val
shouldn't make
back,
back up.
Cotter. No, I'll go the upset here, boys. Cowboys have to win. Storm blokes could rest after. I'll go the Cows. Stuff it.
Panthers, Dragons.
Penrith.
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 That is us done and dusted. Beers and break even, 3 p.m. Give Guru a
Wednesday.
follow at Rugby League Guru and SC Playbook 1. A follow on Instagram. And as usual, I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.